The Meeples and Miniatures podcast is sponsored by Two Fat Lardies, Geek Nation Tours, and also the donations of you, the listener. Thank you to everyone for your most generous support. The Meeples and Miniatures podcast, episode 212, UK Games Expo, day 1, with host Neil Shuck and a number of guests. Hello everyone, my name's Neil Shuck, and welcome to another episode of the Meeples and Miniatures podcast. You join me on the first of 3 special episodes of the Meeples and Miniatures podcast, coming to you almost live from the UK Games Expo. It is the UK's biggest tabletop gaming convention, held at the NEC in Birmingham. You may ask what's different about this show compared to something like Salute, and, well, the bottom line is, it's who's there. The vast majority of shows we normally report from are very war games and miniature centric, whereas the UK Games Expo is very much tabletop gaming, where miniatures games is actually a little bit more of a minority. Although, having said that, there are an awful lot of games, especially board games, that are now using miniatures more and more as counters in their games. And that's partly what we've been looking for during our trip to the show. But the hope is over the next 3 days you'll get to hear a load of different bits and pieces, all about a lot of new games, especially a lot of tabletop games, board games, that you may not otherwise have heard of. So, lots of interviews coming up over the next 3 days. Plus, some comment on some games I managed to play, and a few other bits and pieces. On this particular show, I'm on my own. All being well, tomorrow you'll also hear from podcast presenters Mike Hobbs and Dave Luff as they are joining me on day 2 of the show. And I'm particularly looking forward to having a chat with those guys after the show, because it's the first time that certainly Mike Hobbs has been to the Games Expo. So I am very interested to hear what Mike will have to say about that. But that's tomorrow. We're getting ahead of ourselves. So, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, there will be a number of interviews that I grabbed today at the UK Games Expo. I hope you enjoy them and find them interesting. If you want to know any more details about any of the particular companies that we interview on this show, please check the show notes of the podcast. All the relevant links will be there. So, sit back, enjoy the podcast, and if you want to look at pictures of the day, they can also be found in the show notes for this episode.
The eagles have gone. Britain lies defenseless in a cruel world. Since the birth of our Lord, it has been 456 years. What sins have we committed to bring this punishment to Britain? I speak, of course, of the Saxons. They came as allies, but now they seek conquest. The lands of the Britons lie ravaged before them. Blood runs red in our island. We need a leader to stand against them. We need a man to bring together the Britons in common cause. We seek a Dux Britanniarum.
Right, that's enough of that. Dux Britanniarum from Two Fat Lardies. They really are very good.
I'm with Mark from Dust 1947. Now, Mark, we've seen Dust around for a while, haven't we, with Fantasy Flight. So, tell us about the new edition of the game, please.
Hi there, we have a new edition called Dust 1947, so far we're Dust Tactics.
Yeah.
It's a new version of the game with free PDF online rules and a new rulebook that develops the game in the way we always wanted it to be.
Yeah.
So we got new suppression rules, new under fire rules, new platoons, but it's still the good old Dust, you know. So we got fields on the mat, we got new starter sets with new maps, that's very nice, and you still measure range by counting fields and still line of sight dot to dot. You don't have to use measurement like in a classical war game, so it's a very good synergical board game and miniatures game.
Yeah.
And also we got a whole new range of new Fallschirmjäger miniatures, very good quality,
cool.
and some very cool stuff coming soon. This year we're gonna have a Cthulhu things coming up. You cannot see because it's a podcast, but we have a very nice statue with Cthulhu head here.
Yes, it's vaguely Cthulhu-esque, yes.
Yeah, it's very Cthulhu-esque.
Very cool.
We're gonna have a new army with Cthulhu, with cultists, with strange stuff. So we're gonna go a bit more pulp right now from World War II.
Right. Okay, so, new factions. I mean, is everybody's existing collection still completely supported?
Yes, of course. In Dust, we never cross out our previous customers. We never delete any miniatures from the game. So all of the miniatures you have in your home, some are covered in Dust, you can still use them. You just need to have a new card deck for the new rules.
Yeah.
The cards are also free to find online. And you can just print this out or buy it at us, and you can play with all your miniatures. There is no problem. And also there is a whole new range of miniatures. We have now 7 starter sets. Each starter set is a different faction. So we have a mercenary faction, only girls, big guns, nice girls, everybody likes that. We got a zombie faction, the Bloodcroits in the Axis, but we also have Marines for the Allies, and we have coming a new faction very soon, Desert Scorpions for the Allies. This is gonna be like commandos in jeeps, multinational force with Polish, Scottish, French troops, so everybody in Europe gonna like them. And we're also gonna have a Chinese starter set soon, the People's Liberation Army for the SSU, and then for Christmas we plan to have the new Cthulhu Army. So there's a lot of happening, a lot of good stuff for Dust coming this and the next year.
Cool. So, like, brand new rulebook. When is everything starting to launch?
The rulebook is already online. You can already buy it. I'm setting up a distribution for Europe. We have a very good distribution in France, in Poland already. Here at UK Games Expo, we are developing our distribution for UK. So if you're ever looking for that stuff, go to warfactory.pl. We have the site in English, French, and Italian, so you can find your language, whatever you speak. And I hope that soon you can have Dust in your local gaming store, because this is our aim. We want to have Dust back in local gaming store where players meet, because Dust is such a nice game for, beers and pretzels, fun with friends, sometimes competitive when you want it, but most of it, it's fun. It's mostly fun.
Brilliant. Well, it's good to know the game isn't dead. It's good to know it's...
We were never dead. We just sometimes have problems with distribution, but now we are self-distributed. There's no problem at all. We have a huge warehouse in Poland where all the stuff comes from.
Brilliant.
I'm head of it, so nothing's going to be bad. Everything's going to be much, much better now for Dust.
Brilliant. That's really good news. Thank you very much for your time, and wish you well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm with James and Michael from 2D Dungeons from the Harps Corporation, yeah?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, really interesting looking set of miniatures with... okay, well, first off, just explain the game, please.
Okay, no worries. So, what we found is you can go around to a mate's house, you're playing whatever tabletop game you are, 5th edition, Pathfinder, anything like that, and you're carrying around a huge box of minis, and that's a pain in the butt. So what we've done is created 2D Dungeons, which is our flat pack mini set.
Right, okay.
So you can pretty much create any encounter you want in seconds. So if something happens on the fly, or you can prepare your encounters, you just take it out of the box, you put them into their bases, they snap in, and off you go. You know exactly what you've got. You can have your players, you can have your monsters, and off you go from there.
Right, okay, so all this is 2D acrylic, yeah?
Yeah, it's like laser cut acrylic.
Brilliant, okay. So, how'd you come up with the idea?
I've been running as a DM now for about 2 years. We got into it after watching Critical Role and a few things like that on the internet. And we have a 3D printer. We started 3D printing minis, and it just got to a point where it was just too much. I had too many big things. You know, printing out a Hydra would take a couple of days to do something, and it's not going to happen. So I decided we have a laser cutter. We use it for our hardwood gaming accessories. Why not try it with minis?
Right.
So we've developed the formula so we know that they can slot in nice and easy. They disappear down, and then eventually we want to expand it out to the larger creatures and also weapons as well.
Yeah.
So you can pretty much have a little weapons vault and go, right, all these skeletons have spears, or one of these guys has a great club. You know that's the boss. It's easier to kind of differentiate what they are, rather than having every mini that you can think of, 15 skeletons with bows, some with axes, some with spears. It's just easy to go straight from one and start from there.
Right, okay. So, this is your first time at the expo, yeah?
Yes, indeed, yeah.
Okay, and that's with everything. So, obviously, you're demoing 2D Dungeon.
Yes.
What else do you do then?
What we do is hardwood gaming accessories. Start all the way from dice towers, which give a lovely sound. Whether you're about to hear that or not, I have no idea.
It's satisfying.
It's satisfying. So we deal in different varieties of hardwood gaming accessories, starting from the dice boxes and the player boxes, all the way up to our lovely GM screens, which are fully magnetised for storing all your paper and notes on the sides.
Okay, I'll take pictures of those guys.
No, it's fine, no worries. Dice tower in the centre,
Yeah.
and then the whole thing folds away, nice and simply. And you can even store all your campaign books inside as well.
Yeah.
So you store up to 3 books in there,
Yeah.
Dice tray goes on the end, we've got custom fitting bags for them, off you go. All you need is that and that, and you're good for an adventure.
Right, okay. So, is this actually out? As in, the 2D stuff?
The 2D.
So, there's so many people going, oh yeah, we got this, and oh yeah, we're kickstarting it in the autumn.
No, we are selling, all of these guys, we're selling right now.
Okay, so what do you get in the box?
What do you get in the box? In the boxes, you get 91 or 171 miniatures, and they're of our first 9, effectively what are creatures.
Yeah.
But what we're doing is planning for a couple more waves of them, where we're going to go up to the larger bases as well. So you pretty much get, instead of getting 10 of the smaller bases, you'll get 5 of the bigger bases, and then 3 of the huge bases, and then 1 of the giant ones, and they're all $4.99.
Yeah.
So you get 10 goblins, 10 skeletons for a $5, and that can see you through whatever campaigns you're doing, rather than having to spend 15-20 quid on miniatures you have to paint yourself, and go from there basically.
Cool. So what's in the box? So you've got skeletons.
We've got
orcs.
skeletons, orcs, zombies, goblins, kobolds, or dragonkind, depending on what you want to call them, elves, wizards, and that's our starting set.
Dwarves.
Oh yeah, dwarves as well, can't forget those.
Okay.
And then we're going to be moving up to things like different creatures, so we've got the wolves and the rats, just as general smaller ones, and then we're going up to the bigger creatures like the giant apes, the bears, the owl bears, all that kind of stuff, ogres, those kinds of things. And then hopefully we're going to go on to the big bads, like your big old hydras, the Holder-esque kind of looking things, all the big monsters that are difficult to get hold of, but you want a showpiece to show off once or twice, but you don't want to be spending 50 quid on one miniature to paint for one campaign. If you can get it for a $5, you know it's not too bad then, and it'll still last you as well.
Yeah. Okay, so obviously some of these can do player characters as well.
Yes, that's another range that we want to do.
Oh, okay.
Is the generic player characters as well. So rather than having to get your minis yourself or represent yourself with a 2p piece, then we'll be able to go, here's the set, you can pretty much pick and choose what one you want. We're going to be putting that onto our site in the next couple of weeks, once we finalise these prototypes. And then you'll be able to pick and choose whatever creature you want as your person, buy it, and off you go. And then that's your mini.
Right, okay, so interchangeable troops, interchangeable weapons, pocket money prices.
Exactly that.
That's it.
Exactly
Fantastic stuff, guys.
That's
We
brilliant.
also do our 4-man gaming tables, so 4-man, 6-man, 8-man, 10-man gaming
modular.
tables.
Oh, right.
So they all convert into their own storage systems and bits like that. So it all integrates together.
Brilliant stuff. Guys, what a fantastic idea.
Yes, thank you very much.
Wish you well with it, mate.
That's brilliant,
Wish you well
thank
with
you.
it.
Cheers, thank you.
Thank you. I'm with Andrew from Elemental Ascent.
Good morning.
Hello, how you doing?
All right, thanks. Yeah, busy.
Right, first thing I noticed, the finalist at Redesign the Board Game competition from last year?
Last year, yes, we were the last wave through, and we came runners up. Actually, we didn't quite make it, but unlike the game that actually won it, we're still here.
Okay.
And still in development. This is but you can't see it on the podcast. We have in front of us the final gameplay prototype.
Okay. So can you please give us the elevator pitch?
The elevator
what
pitch.
Sort of game is it?
It's a 2 to 4 player light strategy game. Some people have called it mini Civ. You are an archmage on an elemental airship discovering a new world.
Oh, okay.
You summon elemental servants who go down into the world and do your bidding, extract resources, fight each other, and your aim is to raise massive elemental shrines to anchor it to your cause.
Right, okay.
Which you do by getting lumber, gold, stone, and equally you need life force, so you need fish and meat to summon more elementals.
Right.
So it kind of has a resourcing stroke upkeep curve on it.
Yeah.
Big thing is there's no board. The world is made of these little hexes. You start off with a little patch of 7, and by choosing to, as an action, you can make the world bigger. You flip a card, you place more hexes.
Right, okay.
Eventually the world reaches a maximum size, and that's kind of then the playpen almost within which you've got to vie for supremacy and try to win.
Right, okay. So it's how many players is it? Up to 4?
Up to 4. Yeah. So we wanted something that would play for 2, because there aren't enough good 2-player games.
Right, yeah.
But we wanted something that obviously scaled, so it's 2 to 4. We think about 10 plus. We're still trying to do some more play testing with the younger audience.
Yeah.
That's always tricky, of course, because the nature of these things. It plays in anything from about 20 minutes to an hour, depending on the number of players and if they know the rules. Me and a friend.
So it's Civ Conquest going for an hour.
Civ Conquest in an hour, yeah.
Okay.
So you can't go wrong in that regard. It's not a settle in and spend ages, and we've had people all sit down and you'll play 3 rounds of it because you go. It's a strategy. There is strategy, there is skill, but there is obviously an element of luck in how you get the resources because it's dice rolling for that.
Yeah.
So you have to balance both. But at the end of the day, if you have a day with punk with the dice, you just go, okay, let's go again.
Yeah.
And I've seen people sit down and play for 3 or 4 rounds of it and win a couple each.
Okay. $64,000 question, I suppose. Where are we as far as producing it is concerned?
Where we are is I was one of the 12 selected designers to go to the designer publisher speed dating event tonight. So building on redesign.
Yeah.
So we get to pitch to 12 publishers, and we've had a couple of nibbles from a couple of them already who've expressed an interest in seeing it.
Yeah.
Before they knew they were also seeing it at speed dating.
Right. Okay.
So we're hopeful on that. If we get interest there, that would be great. If not, we do want to look at a Kickstarter because there's other games in my head,
right.
and this one has had enough put into it now that I don't want it to wither on the vine. If we get a publisher, great, but if not, we think it's got mileage, so we'll put our own into it.
All right, so it's very much a case of let's see what happens this weekend.
It is very much, you join us at the crux moment, as it were.
Yeah.
So, and to that note, you'll see, again, you can't see on the podcast, but because we were redesigned, we had an original component set from a game called Fantasy Frontier,
right.
And we've been gradually replacing that. So we've already replaced the playing pieces with other variant pieces. We've got new artwork done by my fiancée. She's my foil. I did a design, she does the art and some of the more creative side. So that's being rolled in. And then again, we're now at that stage of if a publisher takes it, they might want to do a retheme.
Yeah.
Or they might like it as it is, so we're flexible there. But ultimately we've got to make that decision and then commit to a complete clean out of the assets and branding it entirely as our own. And then it is an entirely different game. Superficially at the moment, you can see some of the hexes still look similar.
Yeah.
They don't play anything like each other. I actually found the rules to the original game. I was like, this is nothing like what we wrote. Fantastic! We used the same bits and we've got a completely different product, which of course was the idea.
Yes. Excellent stuff. Andrew, all the very best for the weekend.
No, thank you very much, Neil. Yes.
And look forward to seeing this in some shape or form
in
the near future.
I will shamelessly plug, we have a Facebook at Elemental Ascent, we have a website, www.elementalAscent.co.uk. Look us up there and there will be updates on where we're at, particularly after this weekend.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much.
No problem at all.
I'm with David Esbury from Devir Games, designer of Fan Hunter Urban Warfare. This looks really fun. Can you tell us about it?
Sure. In the universe of Fan Hunter, this is like near future. There's this guy Alejo who's the dictator. He's proclaimed himself Pope, and he's banned everything that's cool. He's banned movies, video games, comic books, painting miniatures. All of that is banned. It's forbidden. And he's got the Fan Hunters, which is the police force that enforce that policy. So wherever there's oppression, there has to be a resistance.
Right.
So all us nerds, we band together and we fight the power back. And everything we know about guerrilla fighting, close combat, tactics, we learned by playing Dungeons and Dragons or reading Spider-Man comics or playing Medal of Honor or whatever.
Yeah.
So this is the setting of Fan Hunter Urban Warfare.
Okay. So tell us about how the game actually works. So it's it looks like a warband skirmish sort of game.
Yeah, that's more or less the idea. But I tried to give it like a narrative flow to it. So there's a little campaign in the book, in the game, that the way each game plays affects how the other one will be played. It's an easy to get into game.
Yeah.
I mean, the rules are not super complicated, but there's enough crunch for veteran players to find their tactics and their deeper game.
Okay.
Here. Also, we have the right tools for you to just build your own campaigns, to design your own scenarios, and everything in one box.
Okay. So it's a two-player game?
Yeah, basically it's a two-player game, but it will be expanded so you can play like 4 players or something like that. But essentially it's a two-player game.
Right, okay. So looking at the demo edition you have here, so it's cartoon artwork and cartoon style miniatures, roughly 28mm.
Yeah.
Plastic, resin?
It's plastic,
Yeah.
and it's a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek approach to the thing. Obviously, with a subject like that, we couldn't be super serious.
Brilliant.
But and it's all about having fun. It's really crazy, violent, and an insane setting. Yeah.
Okay, so is it currently available, or is it something that's coming soon?
It is available as of today here in the UK.
Cool.
Yeah. So we've releasing this game here at the UK Game Expo.
Yeah.
And it should be available anytime now in the UK. So it's just ask for it in your local friendly shop.
Okay, and if people want to find out more about you, where can they find out more details from you?
They should go to thebirgames.com.
Yeah.
That's where we have information about all of our games. The new Gretchen's game we're doing with Games Workshop, and well, pretty much everything.
Fantastic stuff. Well, wish you very well with the show.
Thank you very
for
much.
Chatting. And I'm sure I'll pop over to your stand and we'll give Fan Hunter a go over the weekend.
Brilliant.
Look forward to it.
Brilliant. We'll be there.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm with Tristan Hall, designer of Gloom of Kilforth. Right, Tristan, can you please tell us all about this game that has... Oh, I'm looking at these cards and the fantastic artwork. Can you please tell us all about it?
Yeah, absolutely. We kickstarted 18 months ago and funded then, and we've taken ages to produce the game because we stuck with one artist for the whole thing.
Right.
Anya Krykowska, a Polish artist who I think is one of the best working in the industry, and she has produced nearly 300 unique images to embellish this fantasy world that we've created for Gloom of Kilforth.
Yeah.
So it's a 1 to 4 player fantasy adventure game basically, where you can play it competitively or cooperatively or solo. and it's set in a world called Kilforth, and this the gloom of the title basically is spreading across the land, this caustic gloom, and destroying the world. So the players play as heroes that are travelling the land, going on adventures, meeting strangers, trying to win them over to become allies, having quests, going to ancient shrines and places, and obviously fighting baddies and nicking their treasure occasionally. Right. And you're racing against time to try and find the evil that's causing this gloom to spread, and take them out and win the game. So in the competitive game, it's like a race game to be the first person to level up your hero enough to take on the baddie and win the game. And in the cooperative game, there's one evil ancient demon per player.
Right.
So you have to try and use your resources and take them all out. But after each day, heroes get actions that they can use to travel the world and go on these adventures. And when they've run out of actions, they bed down, they camp down, and it's night time, and then the game gets a turn. So you draw a night card, and one of the locations in the game falls into gloom.
Right.
So no matter what version of the game you're playing, this gloom is constantly spreading like a ticking timer, and when it engulfs the world, everybody loses, everybody dies.
Right. Okay. So looking at the way the game is set out, what we've got a 5x5 grid. So is it a case of each game differs because the grids change or the locations change?
Absolutely. Like replayability was a huge factor for me. So everything in the game is very modular and designed to provide a different story each time you play, including the map. So as you say, the map starts out with the city in the centre and a grid of 5x5 cards all around it. But you could move the city around if you wanted to, if you played it a few times. But we've unlocked loads of content because of the Kickstarter with stretch goals. So there's 8 different hero races you can be, 8 different hero classes, 8 different sagas that you have, which are your own stories that your hero tells. Okay. So, and every single encounter card in the game and reward card is a unique card. So, the amount of content in it for a base game. As a gamer, I always wanted to just buy the game, get all the content, and not have to buy 6 expansions to sort of, map it out. So that's what we're trying to do with this box. It's all contained in the game. It's available this weekend for sale, and we're dead excited about it.
Brilliant. Okay, so how many cards to get the box in?
Over 300 cards in the box, and you get a raft of wooden tokens representing your health, the gold, your actions, obstacles. You get standees, dice. 84 card tokens that are different sort of treasures that you can find when you defeat an encounter.
Okay.
Skill cards for the heroes, plots for the ancients, night cards, ability cards for the ancients. There's just tons of content in here, and we're just really happy.
Okay, so you're launching this weekend.
Yeah, it landed this weekend.
Okay, where can people get hold of it?
If they're coming to the show, they can meet us at stand D14 and come and say hello. And after that, it will be available in the UK through Devir.
Yeah.
So they've taken quite a few copies, which should be available online.
Right, so it'll be your friendly local game store.
Fingers crossed, yeah. So I know a few game stores in Manchester, for example, have taken copies. So.
Right, okay. Is it limited number of copies?
Yes, very limited, I'm afraid. So if there's enough demand, we'll certainly be looking to do a second print run on Kickstarter. But there are only a couple of hundred copies left available. So.
Oh right, okay. So it's like if you fancy it, get in quick.
That's the idea.
Right, what sort of price point is it?
£50 for everything.
Right, cool. That's really good. Well, yes. Okay, so that is your current game that you're launching. However, Tristan incredibly subtly pointed us next door. So right, I have seen. I think it's been difficult not to see a game called 1066 Tears of Many Mothers. Looking at the card art, I have to say, I'm a big Lord of the Rings player, Lord of the Rings card game player, and I look at the cards and think, I recognise this game, or correction, I recognise the layout. This looks really interesting. Can you tell us all about it?
Absolutely. 1066 Tears to Many Mothers is a 1 to 2 player card game that recreates the Battle of Hastings. So this is very different from Gloom of Kilforth. You can play this on your lunch break. It'll play in like half an hour once you got it down.
Yeah.
And each player takes the role of William or Harold. And you're trying to overcome a series of historical objectives that William and Harold had to overcome to try and get to Hastings first.
Right.
So, for example, Harold has to go north and fight the Vikings at Stamford Bridge, whilst William's mustering papal support at the Council of Ruin. And once you've overcome all these objectives, you get to Hastings, you shore up your troops, you're trying to bring cards into play like the Norman cavalry or the Saxon battlemen, and you're trying to create an army that's going to take out your opponent.
Right.
Once you're at Hastings, which is like the second half of the game, as it were, once you've done all the objectives, the battle is fought over 3 wedges of troops, just like the real battle was.
Yeah.
And each wedge is represented by a wedge card, and you're trying to inflict 10 damage on each of these wedges. And the first person to defeat 2 wedges of troops wins the game.
Okay. So, you've got all these cards that surround the wedges. How does the game actually play? Is it a case of you're reinforcing armies in each particular area?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's hugely historically driven. Every character in the game the name is taken from the Doomsday Book.
Yeah.
So it's almost like trying to subliminally teach a bit of history to anybody who's interested. Instead of memorising Pokemon stats, you might come away with some history knowledge. So also, to try and mimic the battle, if you line up your house carls in the front row, if you're the Saxons, they'll get an actual bonus to their stats because that's where Harold had them in his battle.
Yes.
Whereas William had his cavalry further back. So if you place your cavalry cards, if you can arrange your grid to put the cavalry further back, they'll get a bonus as well. So the game sort of encourages you to recreate the battle as it was.
Yeah.
And each card, I mean, you joked about the layout before. Lord of the Rings is a huge inspiration for me. I was a playtester in the first round, first couple of years of playtesting, and good artists borrow, great artists steal, and in this industry we're lucky enough to be standing on the shoulders of giants in terms of like the people that have come before. I would say this is a very different game in the way it plays from that, as it is competitive. You can play it solo. We have full rules for an AI, so you can play against the game, and so you have a hand of 6 cards, and each card has a cost, and you discard cards to pay that cost and bring units into play, bring characters, events, tactics and attachments, that kind of thing.
Alright, so the cards you play, they're also your resources.
Absolutely.
Alright, so
it's about hand management, but you can bring cards in that will generate resources for you as well.
Okay, cool.
So it's you really got to, but most of those guys aren't very powerful in combat. So you've got to choose, like, do you want your bishop to come in and give you some extra learning power, or do you want your guys with the big axes, and make that choice?
So is there a form of deck building involved, or is it pretty much random?
That's my least favourite thing about the game, about these kinds of games, is deck construction or deck building. So what we've done here is design the game so it's ready to go. You buy the game, you open it up, you shuffle your decks, and off you go. There's no faffing about trying to deck build or deck construct before the game or during the game.
Right.
It's just a quick, fast-paced, have at it card game, and if it's successful, and we're 60% funded, so hoping it is, then we're going to do other theatres of conflict, such as Siege of Malta, Agincourt, that kind of thing. And then further down the line, you could potentially have a fantasy version where you put the Normans against the Ottomans, that kind of thing. So yeah,
cool. I have to ask, who's doing your artwork?
Same artist again, Anya Krikskowska. She was so amazing in Gloom of Kilforth. We're so happy with what she's done. We're going to do the same thing again. We're working with her, and as you say, we're so pleased with the artwork. If we fund, that's going to go towards filling out the rest of the cards, so there won't be all these blank white cards everywhere.
Yeah. Right, okay, so you're live on Kickstarter at the moment, yeah?
That's right, yeah.
Okay, where can people find you?
Go to Kickstarter and look for 1066 Tears to Many Mothers.
And how long is it? This is obviously getting ingrained on your brain. How long have you got to go? How long?
We're finishing in June, so the end of June, and we're just over 13 grand of a 19,000 goal, so we're nearly there.
Nearly there. So there to the end of June.
End of June.
Right.
Get involved. Help us out.
when are you hoping to deliver?
So the Gloom of Kilforth took 18 months to finish all the art because there was so much of it. We've got less than half of the art of Gloom of Kilforth for 1066. Much smaller game. It's half the price of Gloom of Kilforth, so we're expecting to finish it a lot more quickly. We know who we're manufacturing with and who we're fulfilling with, so all of that's taken care of from the last game. So we're hoping around 6 months, early 2018.
Brilliant. Well, Tristan, 2 lovely, incredibly gorgeous looking games. Wish you all the best with Tears to Many Mothers and
Gloom of Kilforth.
Gloom of Kilforth. I'm going to have to pick up a copy, I think.
See you at Stand D14. Thank you for having me.
I'm here with Lewis from Troll Trader, preempting Mr. Jones. If you're on the Test of Honour review, he did mention this game, Rumbleslam.
you got to say it like Rumbleslam.
Oh, sorry, Rumbleslam. Is that
That's
right?
how you do it. That's how you do it.
Cool. Right, so I'm Midlands Troll Trader. Tell us all about Rumbleslam.
Perfect. Excellent. So it's the game of miniature fantasy wrestling. We sort of, off the record, describe it as Blood Bowl, but for wrestling.
Right, okay.
It plays in a very different way though. Blood Bowl tends to take quite a long time, it's sort of an evening's gaming. Rumbleslam will take probably half an hour, 45 minutes for a game.
Okay, cool.
Your teams are 5 to 7 wrestlers at sort of the recommended level. You can go lower, you can go higher. We've seen games of 6 people playing with sort of 10 models each, and it actually doesn't take any longer.
Oh wow, okay.
It's a vicious game. The one thing when I introduce my friends to it that I say to them is that you can't get attached to your wrestlers. The object of the game is sort of Royal Rumble style. You pick them up, you chuck them out of the ring. Whoever's got the wrestlers in the ring at the end of the game wins.
Oh, okay.
It's fast, it's brutal. You can run along and lift up a wrestler and pick them out if they're on full health. It might not go very well for you because they might just lay the smack down on you. The best way to do it is to like sort of bounce off the ropes, jump off the turnbuckles, and KO them.
Right.
If you KO them, they're knocked down. You can pick them up, chuck them out. Each character has a card.
Yeah.
The card has 4 main stats on it: attack, defense, grapple, and dexterity.
Right.
We use them with a series of dice. There's copper, silver, and gold. Gold is obviously worth more than silver. Silver's worth more than copper. They have higher amounts on them. So the copper have a few blank symbols, a 1, a 2, and a 3, and the gold only has a single blank symbol and goes up to 4. The higher that you roll, the better chance you've got of scoring an all-important beatdown, which can shove them into the ropes so they bounce off and you can hit them again, you can knock them down, or you can instantly KO them in one go.
Yeah.
Equally, if you go up to someone who's a lot bigger than you, then there's a chance that they can reverse it. So if you go to try and sleep and hold them, they can just look at you, go, no thanks, reverse it and do it back to you. So you've got to be careful who you use, but it's also, because there's blanks on every dice face, there's a chance that a halfling can walk up to a troll and knock him out in one go.
Right.
Yeah, which can happen, I've seen it happen. So each character has the 4 main stats. They also have unique moves. So our Goblin Grappler, who we're looking at now, has a grapple move and an arm bar. He also has a snot drop, which he uses by jumping off the turnbuckle. And he's also got Antagonize, which you can use to point at someone, give them the finger, and they get really angry with them for the next turn, but sort of stop concentrating.
Right, okay.
Each of the moves is detailed on the back of the card.
Yeah.
Each one's unique, so every character has a set of unique moves. They also have a unique crowd pleaser. So what they can do is use the crowd. They can turn to the crowd, try and rile them up. If the crowd cheers, they get the crowd pleaser off. It's sort of a power up for either them, for someone else, or for the entire team. They can be really, really powerful. Some of them can be a bit rubbish, but then you use them for different things. Or if they get a boo, then they'll get fewer activation points next turn as they sort of slink off back to the ring.
Yeah.
The crowd pleasers work in conjunction with each other a lot of the time, and the teams really synergize together. So you have teams like the Green Bruisers in the box game are orcs, goblins, and a troll. The orcs can pick up the goblins and lob them at people because they don't care. Or you get teams like the Timber Fists, who have a Tree Men, Amazonians, and Sprites. The Sprites tend to heal up the other ones, and the Tree Man is used as a walking turnbuckle. The Amazonians climb up and jump off him. And then we have superstars that we can use as well. So we have superstars like Gun, who is the hulking orc. We have Gravedigger. We have Baxter, who is a bulldog with the Union Jack on him. I'm not going to say anything more about that. We have macho dwarf Ronnie Salvage. We sort of take a lot of inspiration from early 90s era WWE, of course. It's what we all love, and it's what we want to see in the game. We sort of put a fantasy twist on it, so it's our own. And we can use all of the superstars and all of the teams, and all of the teams can be used in each other's teams.
Okay.
So we really don't limit it. If each team, the team you're playing with is from a single casino, each team belongs to a casino. From a single casino, they get a sponsorship bonus.
Right.
So they get they can be sponsored by Eagle Airways or Orca-Cola, and once per game you can summon the Eagles to pick up your models and move them elsewhere, or you can drink your Orca-Cola and get really fighty. But if you don't want to do that, you can pick wrestlers from every single casino and just play them all together.
Right, okay.
You've got no rules against what you can take and what you can't take. The only rules, you've got to have the same amount of dosh as your opponent.
Okay.
In a 1.5 million dosh game, you average around 6 wrestlers.
Yeah.
And as I said, it takes about 45 minutes.
Right.
And that's sort of how you play. We usually play 2 players. There are rules in the rulebook for up to 4 players.
Right.
And yeah, I've said we've seen up to 8. because of how the game plays, like I said, you can run up, pick people out and just knock them down and things.
Yeah.
Having more players doesn't really make the game last much longer.
Yeah.
We played in the office the other week. We played a game with 4 players. It was 1.5 million each. It lasted about an hour.
Right.
It ended up after round 3 there were only 2 players left. But that's how it tends to work sometimes.
Okay.
You can't be very valuable with your wrestlers. You've got to know that they are going to get thrown out at some point.
Right.
We talk about it as a game. It's perfect for the pub.
Yeah.
Because it's a 1 foot by 1 foot mat.
Yeah.
And the cards, you can fit it all into a single KR case.
Okay.
Or what we usually play as we take it to the gaming club. If we're playing a game of X-Wing or playing a game of Kings of War or something, if you're waiting for your friends to finish, you can just knock it out and play in 45 minutes.
Right.
Perfect.
Okay, so what comes in the box?
The box game, it comes with a neoprene mat, which
Yeah.
is 1 by 1, contains all the squares and everything you need to bounce off the ropes, jump off the turnbuckles. 2 teams, the heavy pounders, which are 2 humans, 2 halflings, and an ogre.
Yeah.
And then the green bruisers, which are 2 orcs, 2 goblins, and a troll.
Yeah.
All the counters that you'll need to keep track of crowd pleasers, movement bonuses, action bonuses, things like that. And then you've got a set of dice that you can use to roll. Each of the wrestlers has a card that goes with them,
Yeah.
with all their moves on. And we also have a rulebook, which is full colour, all the rules that you need to play, all the sponsorship bonuses, special rules, everything you need in there, basically. We've also got reference cards and things in there as well.
Right.
All in there. It's £45 usually.
Yeah.
Today, UK Games Expo is £40.
Right.
And if you want to get it from an independent retailer, they usually sell at a discount as well.
Right. Okay, and you also have expansions.
We do have expansions.
Go on then. What
So
expansions you got?
the 2 teams that we have in there are sort of the core. They're easier to put together. They're easier to get the grips of.
Right,
Then we
and sorry,
have
just one quick one. Miniatures, plastics,
resin,
resin.
all cast in house.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yep. Everything made in Cornwall.
Yeah.
So the other teams that you can get, we've got 10 teams in total. This one we've got the Runic Thunder, who are
Yeah.
a dwarf team. We've got 2 dwarfs. We've got a Glory Seeker, who tends to go after the big guys. And we've got an Engineer, who tends to fix the Golem,
Right.
who's massive. And if you punch the Golem and fail to hurt him, then he hurts you because he's made of metal.
All right, yeah,
Hurts your hand.
cool.
Each of the teams we retail at £22. Again, you can get them cheaper from different retail outlets. We've got 10 different teams. There's dwarfs, there's dark elves, there's lizard men, pretty much every fantasy archetype you can think of to start with.
Right. Okay.
5 of them, all the cards are in there, everything you need to play.
Right, and then you've got individual blisters for, I assume
do.
they're the heroes?
Yeah, all the superstars.
Superstars.
So we've got Ronnie Salvage, we've got Gravedigger, we've got all sorts of superstars that you can use. Like I say, any superstar you can use in anything. The blisters tend to retail about £7.
Yeah.
Today they're a bit cheaper as well because we're at the event, lovely. And yeah, you can buy any one for any team. They're all individual, they've all got fairly unique rules and tend to be a bit more powerful than the other ones. You pay a bit more dosh for them,
Yeah.
but they bring something else to your team. Today we've got, just on pre-sales, which have released in, I think it's about 2 weeks' time, we've got tag teams going up.
Oh, right, okay.
So we've got excellent tag teams. We've got Wukong and Shorts, who are some mystical martial artists who manage to summon special spiritual bombs from the sky to smash onto people. We've got a brand new tag team, Castor and Pollux, the Gemini twins.
Right.
They work with each other, so if you damage one, it actually damages the other one.
Right.
And when they use their special ability, one jumps off the other one to do a turnbuckle ability, and then they tag out. Things like that. So yeah, the tag teams offer a new sort of way to play. You can either tag in and tag out, or you can have them both in the ring at the same time and sort of use the abilities as you go.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that's our game.
Wow. Okay. So, from the local game store, but how about? I mean, where's your online presence?
ttcombat.com.
Yeah.
You can buy everything from there. We've got a Facebook page, Facebook.com/Rumbleslam.
Yeah.
We're on there. We've also got a Facebook fan page, which is called the Rumbleslam fan page. I think it's Facebook.com/Rumbleslam fan page,
Right.
which has got stuff going up every day from our community. Our community's been really excellent since it's been released. We've only been out for about 2.5 months.
I was going to say, I haven't been out very long, have you?
Yeah, not very long, but everybody that's played the game loves it, and everybody is so passionate about it, like we are. I mean, we're late night at work, twice a week, usually playing games, just because we want to, essentially. Yeah, we got loads of people posting on painted miniatures, which is amazing to see, because we have piles of unpainted resin in there, and it makes us a bit sad. So yeah, you can find us there. Everything is on sale on ttcombat.com. The new wave of superstars, I think, is going up on next Friday. They're on pre-order at the moment. You can get them then. We tend to release every month.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks after that, we'll have new pre-orders, and then we'll be going on sale again.
Brilliant.
Otherwise, you can get the friendly local gaming stores. If your friendly local gaming store doesn't have Rumbleslam in stock, get them to contact us on the Facebook page.
Brilliant. Well, Lewis, thank you.
That's quite all right, Neil.
I can't wait to have a game this weekend.
Good. We're running Devir games all weekend, so come on over.
Yes,
we'll play with you.
I will come over and we'll hear more about Rumbleslam over the weekend. Thank you. I'm with Lewis again.
Hello.
Hello, from Troll Trader. Different game this time.
We're talking about Carnevale this time.
Carnevale.
You don't have to say that one in a special way. It's fine.
That's all right. Okay, tell us all about it.
Carnevale was originally a game by Vesperon Games. They're a Spanish company. We were in talks with them last year and we bought it from them. It was getting to a stage where it was a bit more popular than I think they were really expecting it to be, and they weren't able to supply what people wanted. It was originally a metal-only miniatures game, and we bought all the metal models, we bought all the molds from them, we bought the complete rulebook, all the IP, but the metal molds are sort of seeing the end of their life now. As we sort of saw them deteriorate, we decided we were wondering what we wanted to do with it, so we're re-releasing it soon on Kickstarter. All the miniatures are being re-sculpted completely from scratch and made in resin in-house. So basically the game, to start with, for anyone that's not heard of it before, it's set in 16th century Venice. A great rent has opened in the sky, forming all sorts of magical, mystical things going around in Venice. All of Italy around Venice has sunk, and Venice is the only thing left standing. The Rashar have crawled up from the depths of the canals in Venice. They're a sort of Cthulhu-esque fish people monster hybrid thing who are sort of trying to take over the city piece by piece. And they've got cults cropping up in all sorts of different areas of people worshipping them. It's sort of some sort of second coming. Standing against them are the people of Venice. Sort of. They've split off into different factions because the world as they know it has changed. The main faction that we're talking about is the Guild. The Guild are sort of, on the surface, they're very friendly sort of people. They're the butchers, they're the barbers, they're the citizens of Venice who are sort of trying to make their way. They've got gondoliers walking around. The gondoliers are a bit different now because they've got to have big blades attached to their oars to fend off the Rashar coming up from the depths. But that's sort of the basic ones. They're led by the Capitacina. Capitacina, led might be a strong word for it. Essentially, they're racketeers. It's sort of the Italian mafia, essentially. Aside from them, you've got the doctors of the Hospital, who were there in 16th century Venice, but now the rent is open, things have changed with them a little bit. They've taken to the shadows, they're performing all sorts of experiments on people, on animals. Basically, they haven't really got anyone looking after them anymore, so now they're free to do whatever twisted work they want to do. Using the magic from the rent that's opened in the sky, they've been able to do all sorts of things they wouldn't have otherwise been able to. The fourth faction that we've got is the Patricians. Patricians are the ruling class, nobility. Everything that the Guild are sort of they're the everyday man, the people, the working man. The Patricians are not. The Patricians they're rich, they've got power, they've got influence, and they've got the money to do whatever they want, basically. In Carnevale, you take to the streets and the canals in Venice at night. You don your masks during the Carnevale, and you do whatever nefarious deeds you need to do.
Okay. So it's playing on like the costume mask.
Exactly.
Sort of idea.
We've got the Barnabotti we're looking at now, who is a female sort of noble. She's armed with a fan and a tiny stiletto dagger. She wears her mask and her giant ball gown and stalks about the streets, doing whatever she needs to do. And it's sort of how they juggle power during this new world. We've got additional factions coming. We've got the church, basically the papality have moved from Rome, which sank, and now they're sort of entering Venice and sort of trying to use their influence to gain on that. And we've got lots more factions coming along in the future as well. We've got Strigoi, which we're working on at the moment, which is going up on the Facebook page. We've got artwork and renders being made as we speak. The Strigoi is sort of a vampire faction. which are based on sort of very old world Nosferatu kind of thing. We just put up a picture of our Vlad Dracula, who is just absolutely stunning as a piece of artwork. He's clad in full plate and he's got a halberd, and yeah, it's a completely different take on Dracula than you've seen before. But because Venice is as it is, it sort of attracts the darkest denizens of the world to sort of come along and do what you want with it. The game plays as a narrative skirmish game. So it sort of falls a little bit between the lines of an RPG and sort of a traditional tabletop skirmish. We play on a 3x3 board, which you said before, Neil, that you've seen some of our scenery from TT Combat. We make complete Venetian towns, districts. We've got one over on the stand today. We've got a 2x4 board, which is a Venetian street. It's all packed houses, canals running down the middle. The gameplay is sort of, you've got free movement to do whatever you need to do and move wherever you need to move. You can climb up the buildings, you can jump from rooftop to rooftop, you can jump into the canals and swim and drown people, but you might be faced with a Rashar coming to do exactly the same thing, and they're a lot better at it than you are. So yeah, that's sort of how the game plays. Because it's a narrative game, it's best played over a series of scenarios. At the moment we've got a few scenarios that we're working into the rulebook. And then we're going to expand, as the game expands, we're going to expand with further scenarios. How they work at the moment, instead of having like, you play this and then this and then this, you play one scenario, depending on the outcome of that scenario, it branches off in different directions, and then branches again, and then branches again. So you can replay the same sort of scenario thread a few times and have completely different results. And yeah, that's pretty much how you play.
Okay, so, unlike Rumbleslam, Carnevale isn't currently available?
We've got the Carnevale Classics that are currently available as we spin them in our metal spinners. Like I say, the molds are deteriorating, so we're trying to make the resin ones as quickly as possible. It's coming to Kickstarter in about a month and a half, 2 months' time. We're launching on the Kickstarter a brand new box game, which have two opposing factions, the Guild and the Rashar. We'll have cardboard scenery in there, cardboard buildings. We're looking to make a play mat to play on. Hopefully, depending on how the Kickstarter goes, we have to make a 2x2 or 3x3 neoprene mat with streets
the
canals and everything.
That would be so cool.
Which would be lovely. We really like to do that. The cardboard sort of scenery to get you started. So you have your two factions, cardboard scenery, your map, and your rulebook to play with. Going forward from there, you're able to buy the MDF scenery they make on ttcombat.com, which is all Venetian scenes. We've got a huge new bell tower which we've got painted, which is on the stand today, which is beautiful. And you can buy that sort of piece by piece and replace the cardboard scenery, or you can buy, we've got a Venetian district which is a saving of about, I think it's about £150 saving, and you get a 3x3 board, just put it together and play. That's sort of how we're going to be doing it.
Cool. So, Warband narrative campaign. How many models put in a Warband?
Probably about half a dozen. To start with, the box game's got to have about half a dozen. Going forwards, there's sort of sub-factions within the faction. So if you want to play the Guild, you can play like loads of citizens and a Capitesio if you want to. If you want to play, you can play with the, what are they called? I don't remember what their name is. The Pulcinellas. The Pulcinellas are sort of mischievous gang. Think 16th century Clockwork Orange, and you're not far off. They tend to get in barroom brawls and come out swinging. They broke into the Doctor's Hospital at one point and stole a bunch of ostriches and ride around the city on ostriches with big bats beating people out for the fun of it. And they're sort of a sub-faction within there, but you can play them all together and the game sort of expands as you want to. It is sort of aimed at sort of maybe a dozen miniatures would be a great campaign. And moving forward to the campaign, it gives you lots of options as to what you want to play.
Brilliant.
It's small scale, but there's a lot of beautiful models that you'll want to pick up anyway.
Okay. Now, has that got its own its own online presence?
It does. Yeah, we've got a Facebook page there, Facebook.com/Carnevale Miniatures Game. Carnevale was taken by the actual Carnevale. So Carnevale Miniatures Game. We've got websites coming for both of those, for Rumbleslam and Carnevale, which will be coming up in the next couple of months. And the Kickstarter will be going online, like I say, in a couple of months' time, which will be all over the Carnevale page, or will be all over the TT Combat page as well.
Right, brilliant stuff. Lewis, thank you so much. Wish you well, and have a good show.
Thank you very much.
Okay, here we are with Lewis from Braincrack Games. Lewis, here we have Farsight, which, okay, first off, it's currently on Kickstarter, although by the time you hear this, it'll have finished, because it's 4 o'clock, isn't it?
Yeah.
4 o'clock
Four
today.
o'clock today. So.
Okay, so, please explain everything about Farsight.
So last year at the Games Expo, a guy called Jamie Jolly came to us and said, look, I've got this design, I've been working on it for about 8 years, and it's essentially a mashup of a lot of different wargaming ideas that's been reduced into a very, very easy to learn. It's kind of like a gateway wargame package, essentially.
Okay.
And what you're doing is you're placing face-down unit cards onto a very large map, and you're maneuvering them about the field, and they are completely secret until they engage in combat, or until a spy spies on them. When they engage in combat, you flip them over, and then if you have the miniatures pack that you can get additionally with the core game, you add the miniature, and then you resolve the combat essentially. And it's there's dice combat and there's derivative combat. We've got both rule sets in the box, so you can either be sort of rolling according to their strength and where they are on the map. So if they've just attacked from a forest and no one saw them coming, then they get a bonus. If they're sabotaged, they get a bonus. If they're in fortifications, they get a bonus. And the same for if you're attacking someone in the flank, for example, people get negative modifiers depending on where they are. However, in addition to what's happening on the field, each player has a secret shadow map, and they're giving locations to specialists who are like units, but they have fixed positions for the whole game, and you basically write down their initials on the map, and that dictates their range.
Okay.
So you've got saboteurs, so you could have one in the middle of the field, and your enemy wouldn't know about it until they start hunting it down. And that means that if someone's got a saboteur here, they can start fiddling with your mechs and putting down tokens on them, which stop them from moving, give them disadvantage in combat.
Okay.
There's also spies, which enables you to sort of flip cards early on, so you can prepare a little bit better.
Yeah.
And there's seers, who can help you change effects, which we'll go over in a second. And supply lines, which let you deploy extra things.
Yeah.
But all of these are huntable. So you've got an assassin card. Essentially, if I think you've got a saboteur over here, you've been messing around with stuff over here, I can say, I'm looking for your saboteur in this space.
Right.
And it's essentially a sort of longer game of battleships where you're saying, it's not there, but I do have a saboteur X amount of spaces away.
Right, okay.
So over the course of the game, we're kind of building up the board and then trying to capture these 12 bases to have control over the map, and using a different mix of specialists or unit cards depending on how you want to play. So you've got two levels of strategy, where in games like Magic you've got you can kind of decide, am I going to rush the opponent, or am I going to build strong, kind of get my health back up. With this you've got the battlefield and the shadow map to consider when building your armies.
Right. Okay, so it's a 9x9 grid?
9x12.
9x12. Okay, so it's 9x12. Is it a fixed board?
So the top of the board is this fixed kind of, it's like an asymmetrical, symmetrical layout, so that there's a nice evenly matched game.
Okay.
But then on the other side of the board you can flip it over and you'll get a deck of square cards that you can use to add your own terrain. So the other side will just be plain grassland, and you can move around your bases, you can add forests and mountains where you want. And it also means we can open up to scenario play.
Yeah.
We've got an online campaign booked for next year, where essentially people will get their base box, and then we will be giving them new things that they can do with it, and feeding back on who wins their game. So if you're playing a certain faction and you win a certain mission, you let us know, and then the story will change depending on who's playing as what factions and who are winning. I think I didn't mention the theme of this. For those of you who aren't sort of looking at it, you're essentially playing as large-scale corporations who have infantry and mechs at their disposal.
Right.
Countries are starting to fail. This is sort of about 100 years' time.
Yeah.
And companies are having to reclaim resources and reclaim land, and they're sort of crossing paths with each other along the way.
Right. Okay, so it's successfully funded on Kickstarter.
Yep, we're over 150% at the moment.
Brilliant. Okay, so the base game comes with sets of cards, counters.
The unit cards will be tiles in the game, so it's not very thick. We've put a lot of thought into the product design to make sure it's not too kind of clunky, not just counters on counters on counters.
Right.
But yeah.
And then there's a pimp out your miniatures version, yeah?
Yeah, so what we thought, we see a lot of games where we really like the look of the gameplay, but we're but then it's like, 150 quid game because it's got miniatures in it. It really frustrates us. So the core game for this is 45 quid with £10 shipping. And then if you do want the miniatures, you get a pack of 40 miniatures and it's another £45 on top of that.
Right. Okay, so with the fact that you're funded, hopefully this will end up in retail, yeah?
Yeah, this will end up in retail. We are taking pre-orders for the next few days at the Kickstarter price, because we didn't intend for it to go on a little longer, but we messed up basically, got the dates wrong. And then when it does hit retail, this will be closer to kind of 60 quid.
Yeah.
So we are urging people to kind of get on as early as possible.
Okay, and when can people expect to see this at retail?
Hopefully before the end of the year.
Right. Cool. Great stuff. Well, Lewis, thank you for the chat. I am now going to go away and play this, and I'll come back to you guys later with my thoughts on how it plays. Right, I'm with Mark from Woodforge Games.
That's right.
Mark, you're the designer of Devil as well, I understand.
I am indeed, yes. So
okay, can you tell us all about it?
Certainly. So we designed the game about 2 years ago, and we did a Kickstarter which finished pretty much 2 years ago today.
Right.
And that was reasonably successful, and we ended up producing a number of miniatures for that and our original game, which we called Devil's Run Route 666.
Yeah.
And then after that, we moved on to develop a few more models independent of the Kickstarter. And then approximately a year ago, we brought out a second Kickstarter, which we called Hell's Highway.
Yeah.
And that's due to fulfill in August.
Right.
But in the meantime, we've brought out a sort of intermediary game, which we called Reaper's Revenge.
Yeah.
And it was almost like a test to make sure that we could get everything we wanted to do production-wise for the Kickstarter.
Right.
And that product's here today, and it's a great game. It's got lots of lovely miniatures in it. We produce our own miniatures. We also work closely with our board and cardboard manufacturers. The game is basically a Mad Max style car vehicular battle game.
Right.
It has cars, buggies, bikes, trikes. We've even got a war rig, which you may have seen already, and a beautiful array of models. Lots of character, lots of factions. It's quite tongue-in-cheek in the background that we've written, so there's lots of not double entendre, but sort of like silly wordplay going on the rules, etc., or the names of the rules at least. And we've got some great factions. The first Kickstarter resulted in actually a whole new gang that came about by certain backers coming together and saying, can you make us a model, and we want to be our own gang.
Right.
So we've got the Hunters, which is that gang. We've got the Law Haulage Company. It's set in a post-apocalyptic San Francisco, about 20 years after an apocalypse. So each of these gangs have sort of like built up a way of looking at life, as well as an aesthetic that they go by. So the Law Haulage Company, although they're called the Law Haulage Company, they're nothing to do with the law itself. They dress up like 70s cops. They have they're mean, they're nasty, they're corrupt, and then we've got the opposing faction, which is called the Hall's Angels, and the Hall's Angels are aesthetically very similar to Hell's Angels, and they have 1950s gaseous cars, etc., etc. So it's a great thing to sort of delve into and learn a lot more about if people are interested in background and fluff.
Right, cool. So basically, it's a vehicle combat game.
Yep, that's right.
Although I've been playing a Demolition Derby version.
You have indeed, yes.
For the demo game, which is fantastic fun. I mean, as I say, it's Mad Max, it's Death Race.
That's right.
That's.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of things that one could say that it's based on, or people, as soon as they see it, they say things like Dark Future, they say Thunder Road, they say Car Wars, they say, as you say, Death Race, Mad Max, films of that nature, and you know, as with anything out there, there's a genre now, and that genre is car battling games, and we are one of the main suppliers of that genre at the moment.
Cool. Right, so the original Kickstarter that ran a couple of years ago, is that game still available, or is that now gone?
It's all gone. We completely sold out of it. We expected to run until probably August with that product, but it actually ran out at Salute, which was obviously about 6-7 weeks ago. So that was another reason why we needed Reaper's Revenge, because we didn't want to go and produce the same game again in mass production, because obviously Well, we wanted to make some differences, but also we want to build the community, but also those people that are already into it are really into it, but they don't going to want the same game twice. So we thought, well, this way we can give people the opportunity to get new models, new rules, etc., new missions. Everything in the new game is completely different to the previous one.
Right.
But so maybe one day in the future we might look at republishing it. But we felt that was it should go into the past, and it should be, those that backed us at Kickstarter, maybe for them it might be something that they can gain value from in the future, because there's going to be people out there that can't get Devil's Run Route 666 because it's no longer available at the moment, and eBay and such like that will help as well. So
okay, so we've got Reaper's Revenge currently on sale.
That's right.
You've got new Kickstarter, new fulfillment for a Kickstarter edition.
Yeah, that's coming in August. Yeah, that's right.
August. Okay, so and that will be coming to retail as well.
That one. The idea of that Kickstarter was to actually manufacture a game that was much more retail friendly, and that's another reason why we've retired the original version, because we as a team are originally gamers. We're 40k gamers. We're that sort of miniatures based gaming, tabletop gaming, and we produce models that we wanted to see. But as we progressed and we realised that there's a massive market out there and a massive demand from the market of people that want a board game. So rather than make models that are 5-piece, we needed to look at making them 1-piece. So instead of making models that are all in the same colour resin, we needed to think about changing the colour resin to make the pieces easier to use for those that want them. But we still want to make miniatures that are top-notch, highest quality. So, for the gamers, they're getting 1-piece models that are as good as a multi-piece model.
Yeah.
But for a new person into the miniatures arena or a board gamer, they're getting a playing piece that they can play with straight away. And that's our objective. So we've spent a lot of time and effort over the last 18 months developing our processes for manufacturing, so that instead of having multi-piece models, we've now got a lot of single-piece models. We're still going to do multi-piece models because, for example, the War Rig could never be done well as a one-piece model.
It's a bit big, isn't it?
It's a bit big. I mean, it's 28 centimetres long. It's massive. So, that's the sort of thing that we're looking at. But, as far as the board game, the introduction into the game of Devil's Run and the world of Devil's Run will be Hell's Highway, which will be all single-piece models.
Brilliant. Okay, so. But what do you basically get in the box?
So would you like me to tell you about Reaper's Revenge? It's here today, or more about Hell's Highway?
Both, please.
Okay, so in Reaper's Revenge, in both of them, you get obviously the box itself, and then the insert, which we've designed to be almost an extra board tile, because it produces a tunnel.
Right.
You then get the dice that you need. So the game runs using 3 dice numbers, so D3, D6 and D10, so you get all the dice you need for that.
Yeah, I actually noticed... I don't think I've ever seen a D3
They're
before.
awesome dice. When I saw them, I was like, this is it. Because originally we were obviously going to use a D6 with 2 numbers, every number twice or something like that. And then I saw these, and what I like about these dice specifically is that they roll really well. Unlike a D4, which rolls like thump, and that's it.
Yeah.
These roll really well, so they're beautiful things. They're much more expensive, I have to be honest, than a D6, but it's worth it. It's worth it. So we've got the dice. You've then got, in Reaper's Revenge, you have got 2 different factions. One that is called the Questing Knights, and then one that's called the Hunters, which I mentioned before.
Yeah.
The Hunters are the sort of the bad guys, and the Questing Knights are sort of like loosely linked to the Knights of Excalibur, so King Arthur, etc. So we've got a character called Artie. We've got 3 knights in there that ride bikes with big shields on the front and go jousting and such like.
Oh, cool.
And then we've got a big truck that is approximately 10 centimetres long, and it's a 4-piece model. And that model there has a driver called Merle. Right. His wife's called Lynn, and they've got a little kid called Artie. So that you get the inspiration there. And then we've got the Hunters have also got some other characters. So it's a Spanish-orientated faction. So a lot of the stuff is actually Spanish words. But basically, we've got 3 ladies on bikes. If you were to translate the name of their bike, you would come up with the word broom, and they're called the Fated. They're 3 witches, they're sisters. You get it, you know. So that's that one. You then get 3 board tiles, which form a rolling board mechanism, which is what the game's based upon.
Okay.
And you also get the rule book, which is 48 pages long, and you get a sheet of tokens as well. Yeah. The rulebook includes 10 or 12 missions, I believe. I forgot off the top of my head, but quite a lot of gameplay. There's loads of stuff available on the internet as well at the moment, so there's another 30-40 missions that you can play with any of the 3 games that we've got out.
Okay, cool.
The other good thing is Reaper's Revenge, Hell's Highway and the original 666 are all playable together, so you can mash them together. You can take the factions from each one and play them against each other without problem.
Oh, cool.
So the idea is, we call it freestanding expansion. So it's a bit like what Zombicide did when they did their game. So you can play one of them, you'll be well away if you've got one, but if you've got all 3, you can mash it all together, you can have a massive game going on. So Hell's Highway is going to be fairly similar in content, but instead of having the Hunters and the Questing Knights, you've got the Law Haulage Company, and you've got what we're calling the Purple Crosshairs, which are part of the Skinner faction, which are basically the Desert Wasters. They're nasty, really nasty. They're all fighting over a route which has been nicknamed the Hell's Highway, and it's a route between Villaggio, which is slightly north of San Francisco, and San Francisco itself. The reason that the law guys are going from San Francisco to Villaggio is because Villaggio is a really good place to get paint, as you may know as a gamer. Of course.
Sorry, I didn't at all.
They're going there to get to where the paint factories are, and they're repurposing the paints to make fuel. But as they're doing that, they're getting attacked by these drug-hazed purple crosshairs that are basically just attacking them. The leader of the crosshairs is a guy called Medina. Now he used to be a science teacher, and he drives around in a very big Winnebago. And he's got a younger mate that he works with quite a lot, and they're very drug-addled and etc.
Really?
You might get where that one's from, I don't know. He was a chemistry teacher.
I couldn't possibly get it.
And then, so that's basically it there. And again, loads of missions, rule book, etc., etc. Loads of cards to go with it. So not only do you have the vehicle cards, you have weapon cards, you have gear cards, you have character cards as well. So, for example, you might want to play as the Medina. Yes. And you can drive him in one of the vehicles, or he can be a passenger, or whatever else as well. Cool. All the vehicles the characters add extra to the vehicles, so they might improve the ballistic skill, they might improve the evadability, they might improve something else as well.
Cool. Okay, and right, so obviously Reaper's Revenge is out now. What sort of price point is that?
So normally retail at £50. You can buy it from our website at that, and you can buy it from our retailers that work with us. So Wayland Games, for example, and there's a few shops around. But we tend to be mainly website based, because our intention is that we want to, with Hell's Highway, that's when we hit the distributors and hit the worldwide shops, etc. So as I say, Reaper's Revenge is still very much a game created by tabletop gamers, so multi-part models, etc., etc. Beautiful models, I have to say, but they are multi-part models. Cool. So when we hit retail, when we get Hell's Highway out, post the Kickstarter, once the Kickstarter's fulfilled, our intention is to then go to the distributors with a fully sellable retail version of the game.
Cool. And when are we expected to see that?
I would hope that that'll be around Christmas time, but it all depends. We've got lots to do in the meantime. Often, and anyone that's involved in Kickstarters will know, things sometimes slip. Our intention is not for them to slip. We keep our Kickstarter backers very up to speed on what's going on generally a weekly update. So hopefully they know what's going on right now, and if it continues to stay on track, then hopefully we'll be looking at starting and the fulfilment of the Kickstarter in August, and then moving to everything else after that. We also have a lot of other games in our pipeline as well, which you may see around you now, but also we've got coming in the future as well.
Cool. And so if people want to get a hold of you, where can they go?
So wordforgegames.com is the website. My email is wordforgegames@gmail.com. So either of those. We're also on Facebook. We have a very big community for Devil's Run on Facebook, and we have a like page, and we have a community page for Devil's Run. So if people want to get involved, we have lots of people sharing their miniatures, talking about the stories of the games they've played. And it's global as well. There's people in Singapore, there's lots of people in America, in Germany, in Sweden, pretty much any country, and quite a big community in France actually, and obviously Britain. The UK is pretty big as well for us. So
cool. Well, Mark, brilliant. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
I must admit, having played the Demolition Derby version, it's a cool little game.
It's great.
Yeah, and obviously, there is so much more to it from Yeah, I'm very tempted.
Well, we can sort you out for sure today. And the other thing to say, with the Demolition Derby, it's a nice little add-on to any of the 3 games, and it makes the game a massive multiplayer. So this is a game that can be potentially eight or so players, and there's 3 different rule sets that come with that set as well. Nice little add-on.
No, that's brilliant. Well, thanks for taking it to us.
Thank you.
I hope you have a really good show.
Thank you very much. You too.
Cheers.
It feels weird.
I'm Andrew from Fourth Quarter Sports. It's great to find a fellow 49ers fan so we can weep together. Right. Guys, you know that on the odd occasion there's a couple of us on the podcast that start talking American football. It's nice to see a game of American football that isn't fantasy. I'm with Andrew. We're talking fourth quarter football, American football miniatures game. Please tell us all about it.
Okay, well the idea is we are actually playing American football. So the idea of this is to have the tactical side of it and the miniature side of the game all in one. So the game is laid out on a pitch, you're playing with miniatures, but at the same time you're actually calling plays from a deck of plays that you've got. So every turn you've got a tactical decision to make. What's the best play in your hand to actually run? After that, you execute the play, and then it's a game of tactics and dice to actually get whether you can make the score or get the first down. All the time, though, the clock is ticking because it's the fourth quarter. You've only got 15 turns to get a winner.
Right. I'll just pick. Okay, so basically, you're not playing a full game.
No.
You're just playing the fourth quarter. Right, got you.
An old coach of mine used to say, it's always 0-0.
Yeah.
So we've got that. Whatever you want to imagine it, the game's tied at 6 or the game's tied at 32, but the game's tied going into the fourth quarter, because we don't want to play a full game of American football when you've got 40 plays. There's elements of the game where we've had to make a decision to make it an exciting game, and that's one of them.
Cool. Okay, so how does the game essentially work?
Okay, well essentially every place the game, and it's always interesting explaining it without the visuals. The game is laid out on an American football pitch, which is 20 squares long and about 16 wide, 12 wide, and you've got miniatures that represent all the players. At the start of every play, you draw 2 cards that show, and add those to the 2 you've already got in your hand. And you look at them and decide what you think will work at that moment. So some of them are easy run plays, bash right up the middle. Some of them are more complex pass plays, dropping right back. The team that will come in the box is actually a modern passing team. So their plays work better, tend to be the pass plays work a little better. So then you select your 2 plays, you drop them down. One is your play, one is an audible, which means when the defense lines up, if you don't like it, you can change it. At that point, it becomes a miniatures game. So you actually have to execute that play. But being American football, it's really disciplined. So if your receivers don't go where they're meant to go on the play, or if your running back tries to start jinking around and running in different directions, there will be minuses and negative consequences to that.
Right, okay, so we've got miniatures.
Yep.
7 aside?
It is 7 aside at the moment. We're looking at the moment between 7 or 8 aside for the finished game. And that's what we're play testing. We're using 7 aside today because we're demoing it in the hall. It makes it simpler.
Sure.
The reason we didn't go 11 aside is because the game just takes too long. And we want the game to move quickly. So moving 11 miniatures and then your opponent moves 11 miniatures doesn't work. So immediately we've sped the game up with 7. Then the offensive line and defensive line are just 1 dice roll at the start of each play. So they're all dealt with, and you're really focusing on just your skilled players.
It's really interesting from a real American football point of view. Is like coaching, playing juniors, which is under 19s. We played 8 aside.
Yes, yeah.
So it's really good actually. Seeing that 7 aside, 8 aside. 11 aside is the full game, but considering at the end of the day 5 of those are offensive line.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the 2 players you're not getting are the two offensive linemen.
Yeah.
And so, actually, you could say the 3 linemen who are there represent those 5 offensive linemen, really.
Yeah, sure.
That's what's absorbed out of the game. It just means less figures, means the board doesn't have to be quite so big to encompass gaps between. Because what I didn't want was a board where the players could just line up along the line, you couldn't get past them.
Right.
So, at the same time, there's room for expansion. So, at the moment, the team comes with 2 receivers and a running back, but there'll be a chance to buy miniatures like a full-back running back or a tight end or a slot receiver, and they will all have different skills that bring to the game.
Brilliant. So, okay, so basically what you've got is that every member of the team, every skill position on the team is an individual.
Yes.
Yeah? The linemen are fairly generic.
Yes. Now that's not meant to insult linemen around the world, because there's a lot of them, and I played my time when we were desperate on the line, right? But in my old team. But the idea is that people really who aren't deep into American football, really, really deep, tend to want to see the action. They want to, the way the camera follows what's going on. So after your first turn, where you move all the players on your team a couple of squares, that first 3 steps that your coach has drilled into, after that we start alternating one player. That way you watch when the camera sort of follows one player on the field.
Now, we just played through a couple of turns, and immediately, like unlike other fantasy football games that are currently around, you've chosen to actually use proper downs.
Yes.
As opposed to one play plays to its conclusion and then turnover. No, you're playing 4 downs to gain 10 yards, yeah?
Absolutely. And that's the real way. Now, this team that comes in the box is the modern passing team. So they are trying to play big passes, so it's quite a fast pace, they're going for it. Other teams that will be coming in development will have things like the 1980s team, which will be a West Coast team, where they'll be doing lots of dink passes and sweeps. And then we'll even have teams from like the 1940s. We've got some designs here with a guy with the old leather helmet on. So they'll be playing like wishbone and run play, or single wing, and running a lot of the plays.
Yeah.
You choose your team's tactics though. You make the playbook up at the start of the game. So you've selected your 15 or so plays that you would like to try and fit in during the game.
Right, okay, so I suppose essentially it's a case of one player starts as offence, one on defence.
Yeah, we'll toss a coin for it in the real game.
Yeah, and then it's okay, and then, okay, what happens on when you fail 4th down? Is it immediate turnover on downs? Or?
4th down, you have a choice. You can punt, which is just a straight 4 rectangles down the, so that'll be about 8 squares down the pitch.
Yeah.
Like, we're not having bringing out a kicker figure or anything at the moment, so it's just a straight. Field goals are just a roll, but the punt, just you can either choose to move down or go for it on 4th down.
Cool.
But to make the game a bit more exciting on that 4th down, the players, all the dice rolls are at a minus, because there's just that. You know how 4th down is that really critical down. The defense have stepped up a bit. They're going to try and slam you where you are.
Cool. So, what comes in the box?
Okay, what comes in the box? We have at the moment, a pitch, which is a vinyl pitch that includes all the spaces to put your plays, all the boards, and it's laid out exactly like an American football pitch. Hash marks, end zones, all that sort of thing. It also has a digital clock counter laid out so that you're dropping down the plays, because all the time you're fighting the clock. If you score quickly, your opponent will then have more time to try and drive and score.
Yeah.
So actually just throwing pass plays and scoring straight away won't help you if your opponent comes back and is given the time to come and bring it back. Also, you will get 14 figures, which will give you a base offense and a base defense to play against. They'll be in grey and white resin, so if you want to paint them, and they're incredibly detailed. They're by RNS Studio, who are an amazing figure manufacturer. You can paint them if you want, or just use them straight out of the box.
So obviously it's a case of as you switch around, you don't get you have offensive players and defensive, so you just switch around.
Out of the box. Now, going on, you can buy 2 sets of other teams, and you can start playing different teams against each other.
Yes.
But in the box, I wanted that option just to go, boom, here we've got.
Okay.
But the fact is, I want to keep the cost down, so 28 figures. is a lot
Yeah.
more expensive than 14 when they're
Absolutely.
high quality resin. These aren't plastic stuff from China.
Right.
They're like guy in Spain who are amazing figure designers.
Cool.
So also you get a play deck, which will be a selection of 30 cards with different plays on them,
Right.
from which you'll select 15 for the game.
Right.
Okay, and you'll
Okay,
also
so-
get player cards as well.
So is it a case of the offense gets the playbook, gets the play deck, the defense simply reacts?
Everything's about reaction on the defense. Again, to keep it quicker and slightly less complicated for the players. Defense is all about reaction, but once you play the full game, and then the defense has to react in a lot of ways. So you'll select your players, they'll come onto the pitch. Your defense has to think what players is it going to use against you. So if you eventually will have extra receivers or extra linebackers, they'll be selecting those. Then you line up, the defense has to think how's it going to line up against you. So the defensive player is doing a lot of reacting. They've also got that poker player thing going on of needing to try and read what they think that play is.
Yeah.
You know how every team in professional leagues has a camera on the other head coach, trying to read him, trying to say, what do you think they're actually going to call? And it's also a game of cards, so you've got to think, what has he already thrown at me? What's he already used? That means there's less likely to be one of those plays coming up.
Yeah.
Now, that's really crucial. Every deck is allowed 2 trick plays. So, but once they've thrown their trick play, if it didn't work, you know that's not coming again. You can take it out of your thing. So.
Got you. Okay, so that's fourth quarter football. We've got a demo version in front of us. What's the details on how you're producing it?
Right, it's available from September on Kickstarter.
Cool.
We'll be running for about a month on Kickstarter through that time. Also to coincide with the NFL season, because we're going to go and try and promote the game at Wembley and places and also around American football teams around the country. Because this is a game maybe for gamers or for American footballers, so it brings in a different crowd. We're available on Fourth Quarter Football on Facebook or Fourth Quarter Ball on Twitter. And we'll be building up to there. We're waiting till September because when we kickstart, we want the actual figures.
Yes.
Now, at the moment, I'm using fantasy football figures by RN Studio, but we've got all the designs starting to come out now of actual American footballers for this team. And so by the time its Kickstarter's out, you will see what you're going to get in the box.
Brilliant. So that's coming in September. Obviously depends how the Kickstarter goes, but if you fund, when are you hoping to? Any thoughts yet on when you're hoping to bring it to market?
You can see the board's done.
Yeah.
The backs are done, and the fronts are just the last bit of graphic design we need. Graphic design's done, rulebook is done, just not graphic design. The figures, when we kickstart, we will have the figures.
Brilliant.
So I would say we're looking at a 3 to 6 month for the basic box set. Now the Kickstarter, if we fund enough, we'll be looking at the other teams.
Yeah.
They will be longer. They will be 6 to 12 months to get them out, because that's the kind of delay you have with that.
Cool. Well, Andrew, it is lovely to see a proper American football game.
Real American football.
With miniatures.
Yeah. Real American football in miniature.
No, that's brilliant, mate.
Excellent.
Thanks,
Neil.
All the very best with it. I will keep my eyes open, and
Awesome.
I am so looking forward to this. Thank you.
Excellent.
Okay, managed to catch up with Chris from Modiphius. Hello, Chris. Good to speak to you again.
Hello there.
So, another year, another UK Games Expo, and Modiphius just seems to get bigger and bigger. You've been expanding your line with all sorts of stuff over the past year. Can you tell us a bit more about what's been going on with Modiphius? Because the last time we spoke, you just brought out Thunderbirds to retail.
Yeah.
You were talking about. We were just about to launch Acton for Third League Skirmish game, and we were talking about Kung Fu Panda the board game.
Yes.
And since then, you've done so much more.
Yeah, well, when Kung Fu Panda the board game is still coming.
Yeah.
It takes a long time, sometimes with very big brands, to get all the approvals, but that's going to be a Kickstarter in the next month, which is great, finally. But yeah, we've been really lucky to find a lot of great partners who produce beautiful role-playing games, like the Free League guys who do Coriolis, Mutant Year Zero. They've just done Tales from the Loop, which is on sale here for the first time. And Sarah Newton, Mindjammer, Monsters and Magic. We've got the Symbaroum guys who teamed up with. We've got a fantastic, sort of dark fantasy role-playing game, Fragged Empire. So we've been able to expand a lot just through finding great new friends and helping them get their games out into the market. But of course, we've added Airfix Battle since we spoke, the introductory war game, and we've got more board games coming through now. We did the Siege of the Citadel Kickstarter.
Yeah.
That's very big.
I was going to say, that went really well, didn't it?
Yes, yeah, that was a spectacular success. So, enormous numbers of miniatures as usual, and it's always nice to give people a really great deal.
Yeah, I've got a friend of mine who definitely, who backed that. He was one of those things of, ask him how Siege of the Citadel's going.
Well, it is. We've just finished the miniatures, actually, and then the gameplay, all the rules are still in development. There's probably another couple of months to go.
Cool.
Should, hopefully, still ship in December, but it might be New Year. So it's, we always take the approach that rather it be late and the rules are good, than rush it. And sometimes it does take a bit of time. Infinity Kickstarter obviously happened a couple of years back. Now that's just about to ship in next month. And Conan has just shipped. We just shipped 1,700 backers just got their books, which is great. And there's
I'm just waiting for Wave 2.
Well, there's still about 3 books of Wave 1. Thief, Mercenary, Barbarian, being printed. Thief's being printed at the moment. So there's a lot. But another 500-600 backers from Wave 1 still to get their shipments. So it's just a rolling thing. And of course then we've got Star Trek, which people are playing here, trying it out for the first time.
Okay, tell us more about Star Trek, because that was one of the, especially with the fact that you've also gone and produced miniatures.
Yeah, for they're the first kind of miniatures since, I think it was Grenadier did them in the 80s, if I'm right. And obviously there's WizKids HeroClix ones as well, but these are the first sort of, they're resin, they're beautiful, they come with scenic bases, they're easy to put together. There's sets of 8 figures, basically, the original series crew, there's the next generation crew, you've got Klingons, you've got Romulans, we've also got Borg crew coming up, we've got Borg drones, we've got a generic next generation away team, so there's 4 different alien races.
Oh, cool.
We've got all the Star Trek villains, like Khan, Lore, Borg Queen, etc.
Yeah.
And then we've got these really cool deck plans as well.
Yeah.
And we're announcing a story this week, which is about this kind of really cool creative team that has been helping us from the Next Generation TV series to help create the deck plans.
Yeah.
And so they're really cool geomorphic plans to create Starfleet bases and ships. And there'll be Romulan and Klingon ones and Lost Colonies.
Cool. Any plans to go into the Dominion War?
Well, that's coming. So the whole game, the role-playing game, is set just before the Dominion War starts.
Cool. Okay.
The number 2371 is hitting my head, but I might not be right. But it's roughly the year before the Enterprise is going to crash in the film, in the TNG film, and so everything's up for grabs. There's a lot of conspiracies, a lot of sort of tension in the Federation, obviously with the Dominion War about to break out.
Yeah.
So it's a great time for adventure, really. But of course, you can still play you could play Encounter at Farpoint. You could go right back to the beginning of Next Generation. You could play Enterprise if you wanted. You could play Classic Series. So there's all sorts of options. You're not limited to. We've just set the book and the text around that time.
Let's face it, it's a big universe, isn't it?
It is, yeah. There's a lot to do. And we've got a great range. We've got all the beautiful dice sets in the different colours. We've got the deck plans. We've got the miniatures. We've got this giant Borg cube.
Yeah.
That's we just unveiled this week. Geek and Sundry said it was the best gaming box collector's edition they've ever seen.
Oh yes, I remember seeing it.
And it's basically got everything in it, and it's got all the miniatures, everything, the collector's edition book, and it's a giant board cube, and it's even got a storage tray with a foam tray for your miniatures in the top. It's got dice tray. It's got your character sheets. It's got a giant org GM screen.
Yeah.
Bigger than any other GM screen in the world, because we like to do things, go hard or go home.
Cool.
So yeah, it's brilliant to have all that up.
It's been in, I suppose, kind of open beta. Is that?
Yeah, we've been doing this giant open playtest with 12,000 people have been playing. Yeah. And so we had amazing feedback. I mean, it was obviously built on the 2D20 system, which is really strong already. So that it's a little bit more narrative, a bit more easygoing. It's not as complex as, say, Conan.
Yeah.
And great reaction so far, and it really plays well. I'm always really fussy about character creation. So anytime I get a new role-playing game, I always do character creation first.
Yeah, sure.
My test is, do I have to flick around, and it just plays through really quick. And it gives you really interesting Star Trek characters. So I'm really, really happy about it, and we will have a huge pile of that at Gen Con, and then it'll be shipping in August to people who pre-order. And the pre-order starts this Thursday, the 8th of June.
8th of June.
Yeah, and then the PDF will go out to people who pre-order once they're signed off.
That's the other thing to remember to do on the 8th of June then.
Yes. Exactly, yeah. Good point. So it's, save the Federation.
Cool. And then, of course, you just announced another small tie-in with a certain video game.
Yes, Fallout. Yeah, I've loved Fallout since I can't remember. I played the early games, played the PlayStation, Brotherhood of Steel game, played Fallout 3, Fallout 4, and it's been a game I've always wanted to do something with, and I've been talking to Bethesda for a few years, and then finally they agreed to do a miniatures game, and they've loved all the miniatures we've done so far. We've got about 40 sculpts under our belt so far, and the game's in beta testing at the moment, and we're gradually getting it ready, and that'll be pre-order in July, and we're hoping to bring it out in November.
All right, so that's just straight to market.
Yep, straight to market, no Kickstarter, because we just want to bring it out as quickly as we can. There's a huge demand for it, and and we're just going to bring it out slowly with several factions at a time and expansions.
Okay.
So
can you tell us any more details of?
It's kind of if you like Necromunda and Mordheim, it's more along those lines. It's designed for between 3 and 30 figures, so you could just play with 3 characters against another 3, or against 10, or against 30. Right. You can develop your crew, so you've got a leader character and various units, and you can have the rules work on 2 levels. There's character level rules, they can use all the rules in the game, and there's kind of grunts or units, and they've got more limited access, which helps the gameplay move a lot quicker, and it should play over a couple of hours, and it's at the end of the game you can just play straight war games and see how many points you can kill, or you can do a whole narrative campaign and gradually build up your unit, gradually build up your power, and buy more units, buy more resources. So you can buy resources for your settlement, extra workbenches, which unlocks more stuff for your crew. You can improve your settlement, which gives you more resources in game, but the other thing you can do is actually defend your settlement. Right. So using your points total, you can build an actual base with figures, with turrets, with defences, with traps, with various defensive terrain, and then your friend can attack you, or you can attack him, or you get the game to attack you, because it also has solo rules.
Oh, cool.
So I could, if I'm bored today, I could just go, okay, I'll do 200 points worth, grab a few characters, and just explore the wasteland and see what happens. And I can just be hunting for treasure, for caps, for gear, or I could actually be doing a little objective mission, and the game will run the enemy against me.
Cool. And of course, with the fact that I suppose Modiphius has got this huge background in world building,
Yeah.
With all the with all the RPG experience.
Yeah.
You're
Well,
bringing
I mean,
all that into
there's
it,
not a lot of world building to do for that, luckily. But
what I suppose you were saying.
But what we can do is, I wanted to add more narrative missions into it because I've been a wargamer since I was a kid playing English Civil War and Napoleonics. And one thing I've always missed in a lot of war games is a lot of missions, a lot of scenarios.
Yeah.
And of course they have the standard, okay, you meet in the middle or you're defending, you're attacking. But I was like, well, can't we have a whole storyline? And there's a lot of war games starting to do that now. And so we're doing lots of narrative campaigns to play through, whole storylines that are linked in with the games.
Yeah.
So it's familiar territory.
Yeah. Because that sort of thing becomes a lot more interesting than simply a case of, okay, we meet and we have a fight.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's fine. Some people are like, you know what, we've only got an hour, just want a quick battle, just unwind a bit after work or whatever, which is fine. And you can do that. But if you want play a series of games over a series of weeks with your buddies, then there's going to be the whole missions, and we're going to do new missions every month and whole character packs with new scenery, new missions, and there'll be mission books, and there's a whole campaign box that we're planning, which has got a lot more in it as well, which is expanding the game with settlement building, with campaign building, or much more progression and things like that. So the basic game will give you a taste, because you know all the rules you need. Yeah. It will give you a taste of the settlement building and solo rules.
Right.
So if you go, oh, I really like that, then you can start collecting all the other packs and build up your forces and your rules that you've got access to.
Cool. So that's coming
November. Hopefully. We also
obviously got to get all your ducks in a row first.
Yeah. I mean, obviously everything's got to be approved. I mean, they're very happy with the miniatures, so. I'm going over to see them at the end of June to play the game with them, so that's going to be exciting. And then if all's good, then we'll start the pre-order in July, and there'll be some bonuses if you pre-order, and you'll be able to pre-order in shops as well. Yeah. So there'll be some little bonuses that if we can unlock, in inverted commas, with enough orders. Yeah. So there'll be a little order track. So if things go mental, we'll be able to add in some cool stuff for everyone. So.
Cool. And as far as your other miniatures games are concerned, I mean,
Acton Cthulhu Skirmish.
Skirmish
that's kind of properly come out in the spring, and then we're demoing it here, and lots of great unit packs, and we're expanding the game. Lots of more releases this year.
Yeah, has that been received well?
Yeah. I mean, pretty good. Yeah, we've had some great pieces of coverage, and there's. I mean, it's really designed for people who've got their World War II 28mm war game figures already. Yeah. And they want to add in monsters and heroes, investigators. Magic, that kind of thing, or if you just and there's we're not making Panzer Grenadiers and American Infantry. There's Warlord and Artisan, and loads of people make great ranges. So we're just doing the cool monsters, really. So. Yeah,
but it's one of those things, obviously, that if you happen to have a bolt action army or something lying around, yes, other war games are available.
Yeah, exactly.
And you just want to do something a bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the point. And it's very much we're creating hopefully the best creatures for the kind of mythos creatures in miniatures, and also really cool action heroes to go with them, and all the Nazi villains based around our storyline. Yeah. And again, narrative campaigns.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Cool. Can you tease us with anything else you've got coming, or is it more of a case of you're kind of almost up to the hilt with what you're coping with at the moment?
Yeah, we're being careful. I mean, there is other stuff floating around. I mean, Captain Scarlet's coming at the end of the year.
I'd missed that one.
Yeah, we did kind of talk about it in our Dragon Meet seminar, but we've not really pushed it a lot since. We're going to do a proper, here we are. Right. But yeah, so we're doing
tell us more, come on.
It's in-house design. It's a kind of one versus many. One person plays the Mysterons versus the Spectrum.
Of course, so this is another board game.
It's a board game, yes. And my stipulation is it has to have lots of plastic SPVs.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I don't care. It's just got to have lots of plastic SPVs.
Yeah, and it's got to come with Skybase.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Skybase.
Yeah. So we're working on that at the moment. It's we took it on as a little fun project for in-house, and we've got a little good design team on it. So we're just gradually working away on it.
Because I must admit, I used to own there was a Captain Scarlet board game.
Yeah, there was.
There
was a Thunderbirds game as well.
They've
been around.
The Captain Scarlet game was from the late 70s, early 80s, something like that. A new Captain Scarlet game would be absolutely awesome.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun, and it will be ready when it's ready. We're trying to get a mini Kickstarter for like September time, if we can, with when it will be ready. And it's probably only Kickstarter. I don't think it will go into shops. We're going to do it as an exclusive project. So so it's get it while it's hot when it comes out.
So look out for that then.
Yeah.
Cool. Right, so as far as Star Trek is concerned, because one thing I forgot to ask him, is when are we all likely to see that coming out?
It's in it'll be at Gen Con.
It'll be at Gen Con?
Big pile of games at Gen Con, big boxes of books, and then if you pre-order it, it will ship before Gen Con.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and you'll get the PDF, of course, when you order. So.
Right, and so all the miniatures and everything is all coming out for Gen Con?
Yes, they'll hopefully be at Gen Con. Again, it's all touch and go with ordering and everything. So we'll definitely have the rule book there and the dice.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that's 100%.
Fantastic so far, Chris.
Yeah.
It's been amazing to see just how massive Modiphius has grown.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think when we started talking, 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
something like that. And to see it just massively taken off.
I think a lot of it is just make great games, look after your staff, be professional, and be proud of everything you're doing, and just get on with it and do a good job. And that's how the company's grown. And we try and work with everyone we can, and we look for great games that people are designing that are really good quality. So we're trying to help publish. We've got Cold and Dark. That's another one that's coming out. It's kind of sci-fi horror.
Yeah.
Western. The one they're on Kickstarter at the moment. We're going to be distributing them.
Yeah.
Beautiful looking Wild West game. So there's some great stuff coming through.
Yeah.
So we're kind of trying to make ourselves the home of great role-playing games.
Yeah.
As well as having our own big stuff, of course, that we do. So we're in that great position where if someone's got one game that they're doing and they can't get it into the shops very easily, we can help them do that. So it's a brilliant position to be in, and the bigger we get, the more we can help people as well.
Yeah.
And we're just moving office now because we got an office because we outgrew the house we were working in, and it just got too much, and now we're falling over each other in the office. So we've now.
Hang on a second, didn't you move the offices? Was it about last year?
Yeah, we moved out of the house because we had a 2-bedroom house with the spare bedroom was like 4 people, and it wasn't a big bedroom, and then we had like 2 people in the living room working on the sofa, and it just got silly. So too many boxes in the house, and so we've moved out of that and then got the office, but we've outgrown the office quickly, especially with war games, because you need a lot of space.
Yeah,
you've got to always have the war games up and being play tested, and I get orders of new scenery because you need different scenery for Star Trek as you do for Acting Cthulhu, for Fallout. So that all builds up, and of course there's rather a lot of books that we need on the shelf. And
just the odd one or two.
Yeah. I mean, just having one of everything is like a bit insane. So so it's, and we've got more people now. So the team's growing, which is how we handle all this stuff. So it's and just having a lot of teams, you need a lot of people backing up. I mean, there's about 100 freelancers working for us, like artists, writers, editors, proofreaders, sculptors. So it's a mental process, and so we have a lot of people who manage those people, helping them get what they need to do their job. Just paying everyone every month is a mammoth task as well, and checking the invoices, and so it's once you've got a big team of people working on different games, and you need a lot of people just to coordinate all of that. So it's like herding cats, literally.
I can imagine. Well, Chris, thanks for spending the time to chat.
Yeah, no, lovely to see you.
And I wish you all the very best with everything you've got coming on. I mean, it's like just so many good things coming up.
Yeah, so, let's ask me again in a year, and hopefully everyone will be happy with all of them.
Yeah, I hope so. So
Great.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah, cheers.
And I hope you have a good show.
Thanks a lot.
caught up with Martin at Warbases. Fancy seeing you at the UK Games Expo.
Yeah, well, that's just something that we thought we'd have a go at, Neil.
Yeah? Okay, so compared to Salute, what do you think?
Salute is the biggest one in wargaming, without a shadow of a doubt. But this is a very nice venue. It's well organised, and there's plenty of people coming through the door.
Yeah. So you're here all 3 days, yeah?
Yep, we'll be here all 3 days.
Cool. So you've been busy.
Yeah, we've been doing lots and lots of new things.
Yeah. Now, is this the advantage of you now being full time in the design studio after a couple of years of talking about it?
Well, that's right. It is. We've been able to just concentrate on getting more new ranges out there.
Yeah.
Finishing off ranges that we've had, and then looking at new things as well.
Cool. So, I mean, we're looking across to this wonderful Roman stuff that you've been producing this year. That's looking absolutely smashing.
Well, we decided that we wanted to try and up the quality of a lot of our products.
Yeah.
And that meant spending more time in the research, development, and then design of these products. So becoming full-time in design has enabled me to do that.
Yeah.
Just put more quality into the product.
Cool. And as we were chatting, discovered you've launched a brand new 15mm range this weekend.
Yep. Brand new range out this weekend. Never been seen before, really, other than 1 or 2 blog posts that we've done on it. But it's a 15mm range this time, and it's science fiction, which is something that we've never really looked at before, and we felt that it's something that an area of the hobby that we really have neglected, and we wanted to put that right.
Yeah. Okay. So, why 15mm as opposed to? I mean, you're kind of known for your 28mm scenery, for a lot of your 28mm scenery. So why go 15mm?
We are, and we have. We decided to go for the 15mm range because we felt that was where the market possibly needed to be boosted a little bit.
Yeah, because let's face it, at the same time, an awful lot of people do NBF 28mm.
Yeah. With the Antares game coming out from Warlord, we've discovered that there's an awful lot of people doing the sci-fi in 28mm, either officially for that product or unofficially.
Yeah.
So we decided that 15mm was one that we wanted to have a look at. Some of these were designs that we've had for quite a long time.
Yeah.
But what we wanted to do was just kind of develop some of those designs, tweak them, improve them, and just make them much more playable.
Yeah.
Okay, so packet 60 by 60.
So, what sort of thing are you bringing out? How big's the range so far? What do you think?
The sci-fi range was intended initially to be just 4 or 5 buildings,
Right.
but we've got nearly 20 products there. So that was just one of the things that we'd done. We said, just kept on adding different pieces to that range.
Yeah.
Just by going in and chatting to the guys at work about it, and just coming up with new ideas, and just saying, well, how about this? How about that? Some gates, some walls, things like that. And before we knew it, we've got 20 products there without really trying to think of anything. We could go on forever, but we need to draw the line somewhere because we can't carry all this stuff with us.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So is it one of these things of launching into 15mm sci-fi, see how it goes, and then kind of go from there? Really?
It really is dipping a toe rather than jumping full in.
Yeah.
But we feel that with the starter range that we've got, it's a very good basis for people to be able to put a table together from what we've got, and then we'll if it's a success, we'll, like everything else, we'll develop that later.
Sure. And now, as a big 15mm fan, knowing that the majority of your stuff were in 28, I mean, now you're doing 15mm sci-fi. Any chances of going back and looking at revisiting some of your other ranges in a slightly smaller scale?
Yep, I think there's definitely a possibility of that. Particularly a lot of the historical ranges that we do. I think we could possibly go back and basically do everything that we've got in 15mm. We just need to sit back for a minute, have a think about it when we get 5 minutes to do that.
Yeah, sure.
And then decide what approach we're going to take into doing that. Rather than, we need to be able to try and do it in a cohesive manner that's a planned one.
Absolutely.
Rather than just jumping backwards and forwards with a scattergun approach and just doing little bits and pieces and not actually completing anything, which isn't what anybody wants to see, I don't think.
Now, sat before us is a thing of beauty, because here we have functional scenery.
Functional scenery. All the time we get asked for dice towers.
Right.
Now, personally, I don't think that they look very appealing on a games table. When you see them at wargaming shows, you often see people with nasty plasticky dice towers. So I decided that what I wanted to do was, if I was going to do one, that it would be disguisable as a piece of scenery, rather than be really in your face and kind of detracting from the game.
Yeah.
So what I've designed with this one is for the 15mm sci-fi range. It's basically a hopper and a tank. Basically, you remove the top off the hopper and the top off the tank, and you can drop the dice down inside the silo, and the door opens and just the dice pop out into the hopper at the bottom.
And yet, with the lid on the hopper and the lid on the silo, you wouldn't think it was anything other than a piece of scenery.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be as inobtrusive as possible and have this dual purpose, but you're not actually having to use it for either of the purposes. You can use it for one or the other, or both.
Yeah.
And it's just how I decided that I wanted to go with this particular thing. Of course, it's something that I can translate into other scales and other genres as well. I mean, there's no reason why I couldn't take a church and have a similar sort of design to it, where you're dropping a dice down the top of the bell tower and it comes out into the church.
Cool. I mean, it's an obvious conversion, isn't it? Yeah. And this thing really, I'll tweet some. I'll hopefully tweet you some photos so you've seen it. It really is a little thing of beauty. It's a great piece of little engineering design, even to the point where it's got a hinged door that automatically closes again where the dice come out. It's brilliant.
Well, I originally designed it without the door,
right?
Okay. And then I decided that it looked too obvious if I did it that way.
Right.
So, going back and looking at it again, I just decided to put the door on there, and it just changes the look of it entirely just by having that one little piece added to it, and it just disguises it even more.
Cool. Now, obviously, you're spending a lot more time in the design studio, so we've just seen the launch of this brand new 15mm range. Can you tease us with anything else you're currently working on?
Currently working on? Well, I've just got one or two plans that I've got in my head at the moment that I don't want to take too far. I've been working on some furniture.
Yeah.
That may or may not be released in the future. It's just we've got our musketeers that we've been developing for a few years.
Yes.
Now we've actually had professional games designers working on a game to go with that.
Oh, cool.
We're hoping, fingers crossed, that we'll be able to start demonstrating that at shows very soon, and hopefully not too distant future we'll be able to get that published into a game. It's very much a tongue-in-cheek type of thing. It's very what you would call kind of Errol Flynn, Oliver Reed type of thing.
I was going to say very much the Richard Lester.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
It's very much swash and buckle, where your characters are actually able to almost perform superhero feats, sliding down ropes, swinging from chandeliers, and bouncing off canopies into hay carts and riding away to save the dusky damsel in distress.
What's not to like?
What's not to like about that? Like I say, we've had professional developers that have been working on this for the last 2 or 3 years in secret in darkened rooms, and hopefully that's just going to be coming out in the not too distant future.
Cool. Excellent stuff. Well, Martin, it's been great to catch up with you. I'm really pleased to see you've taken the plunge to go to the expo, because I think it's a venue and a completely different market that more guys from the war games arena should especially start to look at, especially considering the size of the show now. So
it's one of those things that if you don't go, you'll never know. So we've talked about it for the last 2 or 3 years, and this year we just decided, well, we were going to go and do it. And rather than dipping a toe, we brought everything that we currently normally bring to a war game show and a little bit more.
Yeah.
Just to try and make it work.
Yeah. Cool. Well, hats off to you, mate. Really pleased to see you.
Thanks very much, Neil.
And I hope you have a really good show.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for chatting.
Cheers.
We'll catch up soon. Cheers.
Bye now.
I'm with Chris from Shed Games. Hello, Chris.
Hi there.
And we're looking at a miniatures board game with something a little bit different from what you normally see.
It is.
Can you tell us all about it, please?
Yeah, this is Book of Nox. It's a Victorian horror game, dungeon crawler.
So a Victorian dungeon crawler?
Victorian dungeon crawler.
Okay.
Yeah, the main characters are part of a group called the Society, and they have managed to get themselves hold of a book of Nox, which they are using to open portals to combat a cultist menace.
Right.
And it's true Victorian horror.
Okay.
As such, the characters are going through the portals into this underground cavern complex, in which currently they are scouting out, trying to nullify the cultist menace. This cultist menace has been invading Victorian London.
Right, okay.
And the book was actually captured from one of their London bases, the cultist London bases.
Right.
The game itself uses D4s through to D10s, and it's a post dice roll system.
Okay. Oh well, yeah. I like a post dice roll system. Right. Okay. Cool. So what is it? Is it a two-player game or is it a multiplayer game?
You can play it two ways. You can either have somebody running it as a DM, as a more role-play style game.
Cool.
Or you can play full co-op with it. In which case we have a story mode, which you can have a look. The rulebook is a free PDF online.
Okay.
And when you start a game, you will pick the characters you want to play with and the story that you're going to play through.
Right.
When you pick the story, that will tailor the encounters that you get throughout the game. The example I have here is for the Abomination. Think Frankenstein's monster. And as you'll be playing through this one, the encounters are more geared towards finding the cultists.
Right.
So that will, as you can see,
Okay. Right. So you have several encounters, and we're looking at things like abandoned rooms with things like giant spiders, scorpions, guard dogs, libraries, sleeping quarters, cultists in restrooms and storage areas. Okay, yeah.
Yep, and obviously we have different stories focusing on different things.
So in the Abomination, it's right down to Frankie's lair. I like it.
With each story, we have what's called an alert type, which is the threat level you are currently facing and how that is generated.
Okay.
In this particular one, it's timed, which means every 2 player turns, the alert status goes up by 1.
Right.
For each level of alert status, when you are rolling on the table to see what you encounter, you add +1 for each alert level there is.
Okay.
So, alert status is always start at 0. So, on the story encounters, it's a d6 roll, however it goes up to 12.
Right.
So, when you first start off, you're only really going to be encountering levels 1 to 6. So, it starts you off, eases you in gently, stops that first room death that happens in a lot of games.
Yeah.
As you go through, especially with this one, a timed one, it's a race against time. Every 2 levels, that alert status is going up by 1. So after 6 turns, alert level is 3.
Yeah.
You get between 4 and 9 in your potential results on your encounter table. This becomes important with this story because you're trying to chase down Frankie's lair before he gets too powerful.
Right, okay.
So if you get to the number of rooms, which is 3, the 3rd room, that's when you find Frankie. And this is what he's inside the special rules. It shows you what the encounter is.
Okay.
However, if you were only at say room 2, but you've been delaying yourself, and the alert status is too high, you could roll a 12. That means you find Frankie early.
Right.
Well, in a sooner room, however, in a longer duration of time.
Yes.
Plus, he's managed to get himself ready, and he's come to you.
Okay.
And that fight is a lot harder than it would necessarily have been if you hadn't have loitered earlier on.
Oh, that's an interesting mechanic. I like that,
So it promotes a more dynamic style of game, a more story narrative type of game. In addition to the encounters, to make sure that when you play through the story, it's always a little bit different. We have a chart for the actual rooms. We have a chart for corridors.
Yeah.
We've also got a twist effect. So every time you encounter one of these rooms or corridors, it can be encountered in a slightly different way. For example, there might be traps. You might be changing the way the AI orientates, which we'll come on to. Sometimes you'll throw in extra models. We've also got, when you do that, a layout chart of where the models are placed.
Oh, cool, okay.
How the models are written in the encounter is important to how they are placed. So they are placed down in the order they are written, and in numerical order to the numbers on the grids when it's shown.
Oh, cool.
The different charts correspond to the twist dice roll. So when you're rolling for that twist, it also chooses what layout you're going to be putting them in.
Okay.
And it has been designed that sometimes you can come across exactly the same bunch of monsters, but they're there and they've been prepared for you. So you'll get all the shields at the front, the spears in the middle, the spellcasters at the back. Makes it a hard fight.
Yeah.
Or you might get there and the shields weren't quite ready, they're still picking them up from the back of the room, the spearmen are loitering around and the mage is right there in your face for you to stab them. Makes it an easier fight.
Yeah.
So it's exactly the same encounter, maybe exactly the same twist, however sometimes you can get a different layout and it makes the fight feel different, even with the same models.
Yes, so obviously completely aiding replayability.
Yes, exactly, replayability. And all of that is just with one story. And you can, at the moment there are currently 6 stories.
Yeah.
And we have plans to bring out new stories. The 6 stories relate to the original game, which is True Victorian Horror.
Yeah.
We've got new stories currently in playtesting for our expansion, which is more of an aquatic theme, Jules Verne, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea style of aesthetic. And we'll be bringing out themed stories throughout the year, one for Halloween, Christmas, Easter, just for people to play and have fun with.
Cool. So, Book of Nox, how do you currently get hold of it? And what? So it looks like it's a box game, yeah?
It's a box game.
So what comes in the box?
You get 3D resin tiles.
Oh, right. So these 3D resin tiles are part of the box.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yes. All the tiles are inside the box. So you've got 4 doorways. You've got 3 regular corridors, 1 collapsed corridor, 1 T-section, 1 corner, 3 square rooms, 1 large room.
Yeah.
You've got a corrupted column, which is one of the stories. Trapdoors. You've got 7 playable character classes. which is 6 metal miniatures plus 1 invisible man.
Okay.
Which there is actually a sculpted tile for.
Sorry, I was laughing. The invisible man is an empty tile with 2 footprints sculpted on the bottom. It's brilliant.
And there are a further 15 cultists in there.
Right, okay.
You also get the AI cards for the dungeon generation.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of the game, you just shuffle the cards, and flip of the card tells you what the next room is going to be.
Okay, cool.
And obviously, of course, the dice.
Yeah.
The rulebook is free PDF, so it's not inside the box because I'm constantly adding new content.
Okay, cool.
And it will stay free as well.
Oh, cool. Okay. So, if you wanted to pick up the base set, what's the price point, and where can people get hold of it?
It's £75 online.
Cool.
And I'm also at various shows if you're going to see me there. But otherwise, we have a website.
Okay, which is
www.shed-games.co.uk.
Brilliant. Fantastic stuff. Well, thank you. It's nice to see something a little bit different.
When I decided to create a game, because it is just me, I do it all in my shed, hence the name Shed Games.
Oh, hence Shed Games. I did wonder. Oh, right. So it really is that. It really is.
It's your shed.
It's
a big shed, but I have 2 sheds now. But it's just me. I create it myself. I do all my own casting, so.
Oh wow! Oh, so it's totally in-house.
The only thing I outsource is the sculpting.
Yeah.
Because my talents only go so far.
Right. Okay.
But I mean, I've done the painting. I do the casting. I do the boxing, the wrapping.
Right. So you do the resin casting as well?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
It's why I can get the price down for a full dungeon set like this in a game. It's because I do it all myself.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for talking about Book of Nox. It's a great looking little game. I'm really impressed, and these the Jules Verne expansion has some wonderful sea creatures and divers and everything. Looks great. Looks great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time, and hope you have a good show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We hope that you're enjoying this episode of the Meeples and Miniatures podcast. If you are, would you like to support us? There's a couple of ways of doing so. You can become a patron of the show by supporting us on our Patreon page. There you can give regularly every time we produce a show. Alternatively, you may want to give a one-off donation, and you can do that by using PayPal. For more details on both these options, please click on the Donate tab on our website www.meeplesandminiatures.co.uk. Well, I hope you all enjoyed that flavour of day one from the UK Games Expo. Highlights of my day, well, there were a couple. One game which, unfortunately, we ended up not hearing about today because I had that wonderful thing of the battery on my recorder running out halfway through the interview. So, hopefully I'll get a chance to catch up with the guys again tomorrow. But there's a company called Phalanx Games who are producing a new cooperative board game called U-Boat, the board game, where everyone plays a member of a U-boat crew performing missions. Okay, it's a fully cooperative game, moderated by an application, also an Android application. Sounds really, really interesting, and I'm looking forward to getting a demo of that tomorrow, and I'll grab an interview with the guys as well. Other than that, probably my favourite game of the day was fourth quarter football. I have been waiting for a proper American football game with miniatures for the longest time, as I expressed in the interview, I think. It's great to have a proper American football game that isn't Blood Bowl. They've done a really good job of putting that together, and I am so looking forward to that coming out. September, I'll definitely be there in September, back the Kickstarter. Really enjoyed playing that. So much so that I'll be probably going back and having another game before the end of the weekend. Okay, so that's it for day one of the UK Games Expo. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Hope you've enjoyed what we've covered. Join us tomorrow as myself, the great Guru Luff, and the Welsh Wizard himself, Mr. Michael Hobbs, bring you coverage of day two of the UK Games Expo. Lots more stuff to chat about tomorrow. Until then, take care, happy gaming, catch you tomorrow. Thank you for listening to the Meeples and Miniatures podcast. If you've enjoyed the show, why not share it with others by leaving us a review on iTunes? And if you have any comments or questions, you can always email the show. The address is info@meeplesandminiatures.co.uk. And you can also visit our webpage, where you'll find a complete episode archive, all the View from the Veranda podcasts, rules reviews, and our blog of hobby items and news, which is updated several times a week. This is also where you'll find the links to our presence on social media, and here you can follow us on Twitter or join our Facebook group. And finally, here you can also find details should you wish to support us by making a donation to the podcast. All this on the Meeples and Miniatures website, www.meeplesandminiatures.co.uk. The Meeples and Miniatures podcast is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivs 3.0 Unported license. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.